A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop off the cork, have a glass of wine, as they'll say, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the Theatrical drinker.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Open Bar 135.
100 number 35.
Yeah. It's like normally I'm a few, an hour or so in before I start slurring my words and getting things mixed up and stuff. But here we are, right at the beginning
Arriving
of the show. So.
at the bar drunk drinker, truly. My God,
That
our
is the way to
standards are slipping, dude.
See, this is what has had to happen, right? Because I was drinking my way through Assassin's Creed Shadows when I was streaming it earlier.
I needed it, MauLer. I needed it.
Honestly, it was the only way to cope with all those cutscenes, man.
Modern gaming.
It was
Treasure.
brutal, yeah. That is also partly the reason why I didn't actually put together any facts for our current year, which would have been 1935. I didn't have time, sadly. Because I had to jump from that straight into this and prepping for this. So my apologies, everyone. You're just going to have to imagine the interesting things that happened in 1935 and the great movies that were out, the great technological strides that humanity made back then.
No, it's canon now within the open bar universe that nothing happened in 1935. Nothing of interest.
No movies were released. No technological leaps. No history happened that year.
It was a quiet year.
Yeah. I wonder if that... I wonder if you were to poll historians, right, just out of curiosity, what was the least interesting year in, say, the 20th century? What was the year where the least amount of stuff happened? I'd be curious to know what it is.
Well, clearly it's 1935, 100%.
Yes.
That's the one. Crazy.
That's not just hypothetical, that is a fact. But anyway, since we're skipping past that, I think it's probably time that we bring in the rest of our panel, shall we?
Very well.
Nice. Okay, well, welcome everyone to Despot of Antrim. Endymion, making her debut on the open bar, one of my mods, Lady Gravemaster, and Verbal Riot from Film Threat. Welcome, everyone. How are you guys doing?
Very well.
Good. Nice. I just got a big blast.
Yeah.
Hey, Verbal.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, man. Thank you guys for joining us for this one tonight. And, since we're all here and everyone's kind of curious to know what the deal is with Snow White now that it's finally come, I feel like we've been waiting for this movie for like 2 years. It's been a long time coming, but here we are. Some of you fine people have seen it already. I'd be curious to know your thoughts. I know Lady Gravemaster and Verbal Riot, you've both seen it. So whichever one of you would care to go first, feel free and just let us know your thoughts. What's the movie like?
After you, Lady Gravemaster.
Oh, all right. I would say ladies first, but I think I'm the only lady on this panel, so that wouldn't work.
You're here for representation purposes, okay?
Oh, that's right. That's right. As was the Snow White film was all about representation. There is a very diverse casting. However, one little white girl in the very beginning, she's a little peasant. She snuck through the DEI wire. She got in there somehow. And she can sing really well. So it was a little bit weird because she was around all of these other kids. And it looked more like a casting for a modern Oliver Twist than Snow White set back in a, kingdom of really just a German fairy tale. Yeah. Like, it's just wild. But the story overall was horrific. The plot was inconsistent. It didn't know what it wanted to be. It's almost like after she made the comments about how he doesn't have that many scenes and he could just get cut out because this is Hollywood, it's like they went and reshot parts and put more of him in the movie because they don't actually make sense with the first 45 minutes of the film, where she's just pushing for fairness and equity for all, literally through apple pies.
What?
That's how they're going to save the kingdom, with apple pies.
Yeah. This is a plot point, by the way.
I'm not kidding.
So, yeah, like, okay. I mean, if we take like the original animated movie and compare this to it, like how closely does it follow it? Both in theme
not
and
at all.
in events. Right. Okay.
Not at all.
Right.
Also, if I don't know, I guess this is a spoiler. I know this is like really early. And maybe Verbal Riot may disagree with me, but the way the queen dies at the spoilers, if you haven't seen
it. Oh no, you've ruined the movie. I was so excited to watch it.
It's very reminiscent. If you guys ever watched Snow White and the Huntsman,
yeah,
it's almost
which by the way was a much better movie.
It was, and that movie still sucked. Mirror Mirror is by far the best live action adaptation of Snow White that I've ever seen. But the ending of this film, because Disney loves its sequels, it is unclear whether or not the evil queen is actually dead.
Oh my god.
Are they actually trying to set up a sequel?
It is entirely possible.
I thought it was very clear. Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, go for it.
It's Snow White.
No one gives
why
a
not?
fuck about this.
I mean, this movie does live up to expectations. I'll just say that.
Oh, sorry.
So
I didn't realize you'd seen it as well. Apologies.
That's all right.
How are you so lucky?
I know, yeah.
Movies release on a Wednesday, new movies where I live. It's a bit weird, but that's just the way it is. I don't know why it releases on a Wednesday, because no one goes to see them. I was half the audience in my theater. Anyway,
the opening weekend is gradually expanding to like the opening week. Like it just gets bigger and bigger as time passes. But yeah, anyway, sorry. What did you think?
It fully lived up to expectations. It's one of the worst movies of the decade. So if anyone does want to go out and see it out of sheer morbid curiosity, I thought maybe I'd see it, not do spoilers for that. But at the same time, don't be under any delusions. It's one of the most astoundingly boring pieces of shite I've ever seen. But at the end, and as soon as this happened, I thought, for fuck's sake, fucking Disney. Because in the original, the queen dies when the dwarves basically kill her. They chase her to a cliff top. And some of them are armed with sticks, and it looks like they're going to beat her to death when they find her. And then she basically falls off a cliff trying to defend herself from the dwarves, right? So that's what happens. The dwarves basically kill her.
Well, she gets struck by lightning, doesn't she?
The lightning hits the cliff, and then the cliff breaks, and she falls off.
Yeah, you can say it's an act of God.
you could call it an act of God. It's a combination of the dwarves, and nature herself finishes her off. But in this one, basically, the problem is, in Disney movies, men aren't allowed to kill women under any circumstances, even if the woman is a villain. So Disney had to change it. What happens now is that Gal Gadot, she basically attacks the mirror. The mirror says something she doesn't like at the end, and then she smashes it. And because of this, she dies. She blows up. And that's
she gets sucked into the mirror, basically.
Yeah, she gets.
Oh, is that what happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she got sucked into the mirror.
So the shards of glass are her magic scepter that she's been hauling around that you would think would have more to do with stuff that's going on, but it tends to just not be anything throughout the film. But she picks it up, she smashes the mirror with it, and then drops the scepter. It shatters on the ground. As all of the glass shards are flying around her, Snow White witnesses the evil queen turn to ash and then get pulled into the mirror, and then the mirror repairs itself. So now the queen is in the mirror. Yes.
See, I assumed because she turned to ash, I thought she just sort of was burned to death by magic or something.
Well, so what that is supposed to be, if you remember at the very beginning of the film, her power is in the mirror, and that's why she was protective of the mirror and nobody else knew about it. And so when she smashed it and her scepter broke, that was like all of her power, because her beauty is where her power came from in this hodgepodge of stuff. If you can pull these things out, my notes are like 6 pages long, but it essentially is, she was very protective of the mirror because it reinforced that she was the most beautiful, which is where her power came from. And when it shattered, all of her power basically got pulled back into the mirror, and so did she. So technically speaking,
Okay.
because it is a magic mirror, she could still be alive on the other side of the mirror.
So, all right, well, there you go. We're I'm sure we're all
Let's just
wait
be
for the
clear.
sequel.
Let's be clear here. There's not going to be a sequel.
No.
I don't think so. No.
There is
No.
not.
So yeah, like Verbal Riot, what was your impression of the film? Like, what was your experience watching this?
Well, here's what's funny about this, man. So right before the movie, me, Gore, and Alan Ing from Film Threat, we went to the Yard House for a couple of pints before we went to go watch the movie.
As you should before this.
Well, we had to, right? For me though, the beers weren't enough, so I popped a few gummies before the movie started, and
Nice.
I got to tell you, man, it didn't help. It didn't help at all. You know, there were times where Gore kept looking over at me, and I know when he looks at me like that, it's like, hey, let's get out of here. Let's just. And I'm like, no, dude, we got to ride this out, man. Like we just got to ride it out, dude. It's like I kind of equated to like bull riding. You know how you have like 8 seconds to stay on the bull, and that's how this movie was. I was just trying to stay on the bull the whole time. Nothing in this movie looked real. First of all, nothing looked real. Like I don't know if they used one real set in this whole movie. It looks really weird. It's very uncanny. Especially those damn dwarves, which you can make a whole video just on those dwarves, man. Those dwarves took me completely out of an already bad movie. The dwarves were bad. The plot made zero sense, man. And the thing that really kind of got to me was the queen asking the mirror that question at least 20 times within the film. It's like every time the queen had a scene, she was asking that mirror that damn question every single time. And I'm like, dude, this is some terrible writing. But here's the thing. We expected that, right? I expected it to be bad writing. The only thing that was kind of a surprise to me was Rachel Zegler didn't do that bad as Snow White. I mean, as far as just being Snow White, I mean, she has a decent voice. I thought she'd be the worst part of this, and she wasn't, which says a lot because it was still bad.
Question: how was the new singing parts?
That's what I'm saying. The music was fine. It was fine. I mean, for the most part. I mean, like, look, I'm sorry. There's no way you can like make hi ho sound any better than what it is. It is what it is.
That's not what I'm talking about. You thought Princess Problems was good?
No. But what I'm saying is at least she has a decent voice. No, that's the only thing I'm saying. I mean, the songs were whatever, but it's a musical, right? I mean, it's a Disney musical. It is what it is. So if you're not into it, doesn't matter how good the singing is.
What was Gal Gadot like in terms of her actual performance? Because
completely over the top. She was completely over the top. Like she was chewing up every scene.
I enjoyed Gal Gadot for that reason, because that was the only part of the movie I enjoyed. Like Verbal Riot's right. This movie, and I was racking my fucking brain trying to think of a single redeeming aspect. There are none. There are no redeeming aspects to this movie.
Right.
But you can enjoy Gal Gadot ironically. You can sort of, first of all, she's hot, right? And it's not intended. She kind of looks like a dominatrix, also with her behavior.
Yeah, she does.
She's angry.
You're saying all the right things to me, Despot.
I know, it's great. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I was just thinking, I wouldn't mind spending an evening with Gal Gadot looking like that, you know?
Yeah.
She's 90% covered for the
but
film.
That's the thing.
And
That's why she looks. It's leathery, and she's got this ridiculous crown that goes way up.
She's
just
still
weird.
so much prettier. She's still so much prettier than Zegler. Like, I don't understand. It's baffling because the queen is supposed to be envious of Snow White's youthful beauty. And like, it's not even a competition, even with Gal Gadot covered up.
And it's not like they made Zegler look good. Zegler looks kind of shit in her little Snow White dress, which is ugly as hell. Lady Gravemaster, what did you think of the Snow White dress design? Because I was comparing it to the original, and they've got the colors wrong. In the original, the dress is like this cream yellow. It's kind of nice, and this new one, it's like a mustard yellow. It's just awful, and it doesn't look good on Zegler. She looks awful in it. It looks cheap as fuck. She looks like she bought it on Amazon and it arrived 2 days after Halloween, and she's wearing it just out of sheer frustration that it arrived late. It's just awful.
So, yes, all of those things are yes. And the worst part about the dress for me is that's Snow White's iconic dress. That's what little girls dress up as when they dress up as Snow White. They don't dress up as Snow White in her peasant garb when she's scrubbing the stairs. They dress up in her princess gown. And the thing that's really mind-blowing to me is I don't know if it's the way that Zegler walks or if it's the way that if the dress was not properly like tailored to her and it's not fitted correctly. But did you notice that instead of it being like a swishing skirt, it was like very rigid, and so when she would like hop or move, instead of like a billowy effect, it was almost super starched, and it sort of like it just sort of like went up and down with her. It didn't actually flow around her, which was really off-putting because
that might have been it, because there was something else about it that was really off-putting. I was like, I don't know what it's like, uncanny, but that must have been it. You know, my subconscious.
The dress was probably CGI.
Yeah, I will say I did laugh. I did laugh once when those fucking dwarves came on screen. I laughed out loud in my seat. It was one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in a cinema. It's just the ads don't do it justice. It's the worst uncanny valley CGI I have ever seen. It is,
and somehow it does look worse. It looks worse on the big screen.
Yes,
Jesus Christ, that's
it looks
it, man.
1,000 times worse on the big screen.
Yeah.
When you're looking at it on your phone, it's bad, but you're like, oh, it's just kind of weird. But on the big screen, it's just the stuff of Dante's nightmares. It's horrifying.
Well, and
it just sucks that they couldn't hire real people.
That's the thing. The bandits who are with Jonathan, who by the way is not a prince because we don't want to steal any agency from Snow White. They have an actual dwarf as part of the bandits.
Yeah, he was part of the DEI bandits, basically. And no, it really was. I mean, these bandits, it was like, you know, 2 black people, 2 white people, like a Latino, and then they had a midget. So I mean, it was like it's like they checked every like box, and I think they had one.
Why is nobody in a wheelchair? Like they didn't get everything. Just wheeling along.
But that's the irony, though, man. They had a little person in their group of bandits, but they didn't bother to cast any as the dwarves.
It's Peter Dinklage's fault, man. He kicked that little tiny ladder down when he got to the top.
Yeah, you think he would have been the bigger man and just allowed people.
But he has a really short temper.
He does, yeah.
And also here is the thing. So of the bandit crew, the only one who has more than a single line that you kind of remember is the little person of the bandits. Like, he shouts his name all the time. He talks about how his crossbow got stolen. Then he gets a crossbow back, and should we ruin this, Verbal Riot, Despot? Should we say how the queen?
I'm pretty sure Disney ruined Snow White.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead,
Gravemaster.
Get this. So the evil queen is about to stab Snow White with a glass dagger that she has materialized after she withered a rose away. She is literally about to stab Snow White while all of these guards, whom no longer want to kill her because Snow White remembered their names. I'm not kidding. They were like, if you want to do it, do it yourself. So all these men are just going to sit there and watch as Snow White gets stabbed to death by the evil queen. But it won't happen because I don't even remember his name, even though he shouts it all the time. The little person who is part of the bandits shoots the evil queen's hand from the crossbow that he got off the wall of the castle, and the glass dagger falls and shatters. That's why Snow White doesn't get stabbed to death. I'm not even kidding.
I feel bad for Mark Webb, the director of this. He did the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and that other movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it. I forgot what it was called. Something of Summer, 500 Days of Summer. Something like that.
500 Days of Summer.
Yeah, he did those too. Like, this guy's he just seems to have bad luck. Like, every movie he makes just gets like studio interference, like Super Saiyan levels of it, man. I can't imagine how it was to make this movie.
When you're dealing with Disney, I mean, Disney, they don't really hire directors anymore. You know, they just hire, people who will basically do what they tell them to do.
Yeah.
So
it's so funny when you guys talk about the bandits as well, because like they were, in a way, they were the thing that precipitated all of the backlash to this fucking movie. Like just the behind the scenes shots of them walking down a hill. Everyone thought they were the dwarves. Everyone lost their minds. And so everyone started to look into this movie a little bit more deeply. And that's when all the Rachel Zegler interviews that she'd done previous to that suddenly came to light. And that is what began this tidal wave of negativity around this movie. It's all because of those fucking bandits. And it wasn't even... They weren't even dwarves. They weren't even meant to be.
The crazy thing is, if this was just a straight to streaming movie and it only cost like $50 million to make, I would say, it was fine. You know, it wasn't really meant to be a big screen movie, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, the fact that this movie cost about $300 million to make, this is...
Before marketing.
This is some sad shit.
It's astounding given how bad it looks. The cinematography is awful. The whole movie is soaked in this really cheesy, kind of sunny yellow filter. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Especially the scenes inside the cottage. They wanted it to look sunny, so they apply this horrible yellow filter, and it just looks awful. And it clashes with a lot of the colors in the set. You get a lot of yellow on yellow on yellow on tan on brown. It's just these disgusting color clashes. The outside, like Verbal said, looks fake. The entire thing looks like a CGI set. The forest set looks abysmal. I don't know. It looked like they filmed the forest inside in the studio and then added a green screen in the background. It looks terrible. It's one of the worst looking movies. It's one of the worst things Disney have ever done.
I maintain that it looks like a high school musical theater production on stage. That is what it looks like.
And I haven't seen a single positive review for it. The Guardian gave it 1 star.
Oh, I've seen a lot of shill reviews.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, are you talking about the paid reviews that Disney did for their preview?
Yeah, well, we had the influencer reviews, right? There was this initial batch of like positivity that lasted about 2 or 3 hours on social media where it's like, this is like a surprisingly amazing movie. It's the best live action adaptation in years. And then the actual reviews came out and it's fucking dog shit. And it's currently sitting at 46% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I've already started to see the cope. When that didn't work, there was a new update patch released for NPCs, and what they're going to say now, and I've already seen this starting to circulate on social media, is, bro, are you literally talking about a movie for children? It's a children's movie,
God,
bro. Who cares if it's not that good?
Tried that with Star Wars.
Bro, it's literally for children. What's wrong with you?
Okay, and you know what though? To be fair, it is for kids. If you have a child between 3 to 8. They might enjoy it, but it's going to be a nightmare for the parents who have to sit through it.
I have to say, Verbal, I disagree with that. I think this thing is so boring, and the way it's been shot, the fact that the scenes are so long and so static, and there's next to no action. Like even the finale, Snow White defeats the Queen by literally walking into the kingdom. And then everyone walks behind her and she sings a song and the Queen comes out, and then Snow White reminds the guards around the Queen of what their names are and their professions and who their wives are. So they all like Snow White and they turn to the Queen and say, "It's over, Queen." And the Queen goes, "No!" And she tries to stab Snow White. And there's no action that I
have a question.
Down with the monarchy.
No
action.
You guys brought up apple pies. What did that have to do?
Oh,
what happened with that?
So basically, there's this weird, like almost socialist message in this movie, right? And the whole message is, people who have the most share with everybody who has the least, right? And so the king, he has these feasts, I guess, every week or whatever, where they bring pies to the people, and they kind of ended the movie on that note as well. So.
But I don't think kids will enjoy this. When kids went to see The Little Mermaid, they were bored out of their mind. I had a niece went to see it with her friends, and they were all so bored.
Well, I mean, should we just tap the sign? Like, kids deserve good content too.
They should. Kids deserve good movies. Like, if I had seen this when I was a kid, I would have been bored out of my mind. I saw the original Snow White when I was a kid. And I loved it. It's a great movie. But the kids aren't going to like this. No one's going to like this. It's dreadful.
There's a wider kind of cultural issue as well when it comes to these remakes, right? Where this, in a alternate timeline, right? This is going to become the default Snow White, right? Imagine this was a smash hit, and like this is, this movie makes $2 billion or something ridiculous. The original with its fairly timeless themes and like the gorgeous animation, all that stuff will be forgotten, and this would be the replacement, the kind of quasi-socialist messaging, the girl boss protagonist who saves herself, which has fucking been done a million times before at this point. But that then becomes the real Snow White in people's eyes, and that solidifies into our cultural legacy as the new way that things are done. And then everyone gradually forgets the old one, and that's how cultures shift into something different, right? This is what they're trying to do with stuff like this, and it's important with movies like this, which are dealing with timeless stories, timeless fairy tales, whatever it might be, right? It's important to call them out if they're absolute dog shit and they're ruining the legacy of the original, because little by little, all of this stuff will get taken away and altered and changed and turned into something completely unrecognizable.
Is there a single Disney live action? Because I haven't seen any of them besides Lady and the Tramp, and that was not really watching. It was just kind of on the screen. So I haven't seen any I haven't seen Aladdin. I haven't seen Beauty and the Beast remake. I haven't watched any of these live action remakes because I'm like, I don't want to tarnish what I know about them. But anyway, what do you guys actually think is like the best one, if there is
Cinderella.
one?
Everyone always says Cinderella.
Yeah, everyone says that. Apparently that was done in the pre woke era, so that's like a pretty faithful adaptation of the original.
And Kenneth Branagh made that, right?
I think so.
Oh, that's the guy that did Thor. One?
Yeah, Thor. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, okay.
A bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. Quite an experienced director and actor.
But you also have to be specific, man, because you know, when you say Disney live action, so there's you know, the pre-Little Mermaid era, right, with Snow White, Cinderella, but then you have like after Little Mermaid with like The Lion King and all these other movies. So do you mean like that era, or do you mean?
I just kind of mean like, yeah, I guess
the original
you could say,
Disney
like,
stuff.
Well, original Disney stuff, I feel like we can't really compare it, right? Those are just better. But I'm thinking more just like the live action stuff, like you said, like Beauty and the Beast with what's her name from Harry Potter,
right?
Like
okay,
and
like the Will Smith Aladdin and all that, and
yeah.
Honestly, man, none of them are good.
Okay,
none of them are good. So
they just
I haven't watched any of them
like
I just don't want to ruin it for myself.
Well, and I think part of this is like part of the problem is you know, a human or a normal person, or in some cases like with the Lion King, animals, like a human actor, or in the case of like these Lion King and stuff, like having an animal, a photorealistic animal, they're never going to be as expressive and as charismatic, as interesting as these animated creatures or these animated characters. Because by their nature, they can do more, they can express more, they can emote more, and it's just going to be a more immediate experience that you get with the animated movies that you can't really replicate, and you shouldn't try and replicate it in live action. It's timeless animation, and they did it right first time. It's just, it pisses me off that they keep getting made, and the problem is they get made because they make shitloads of money.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that they make a lot of money.
My other question is,
even by the way, even Mufasa, which you know is complete horseshit. Mufasa is still doing pretty well in the theater right now. So
and that pissed me off. I was so disappointed at just audiences generally that they made that piece of garbage profitable.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not going to say Snow White's not going to make money. I think, look, man, if Mufasa could do what it's doing right now, Snow White definitely has a chance of doing fairly well. Maybe not the first week. But I don't know, man. I mean, we're talking about a time where there's nothing in the theater, right? Parents need something to take their kids to go watch. Snow White is literally the only thing out there for them to watch right now.
Yeah. But like, what's left? I know Lilo and Stitch is coming, but like beyond that, like, what else could they reasonably
Thunderbolts
remake?
and Fantastic Four, as far as you know, the MCU, as far as Disney proper, I think it might be the big one.
I think Endymion was saying, like, what animated movies can they still pilfer to turn into live action? What's left?
What else is left?
Hunchback of Notre Dame, maybe?
I don't think they have the balls to do that.
Oh,
they're going to do The Sword in the Stone, and they're even going to do a movie from the 80s called The Black Cauldron, I think, which is one of the more obscure Disney movies. They might have they already did Lady and the Tramp. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, Disney Plus.
It's the only one I saw.
But yeah, this is the last A-list, you know, the last of the big hitters. After this, they've only got sort of more obscure stuff.
Didn't they do Fantasia? Well, that's not really live action. It's
no.
Nah.
Yeah. I mean, the snake has eaten its own tail, and it's up to its neck now. It's pretty much going to have to eat its own head next.
We'll get animated remakes of the live action remakes next.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what they're going to do.
I was just scary times when they do Pixar.
I mean, I suppose they could do something like Ratatouille or one of those kind of movies, but
They already did Moana, didn't they? Did they release that piece of shit Moana with
It's
the
not
Rock?
out yet.
No.
yeah,
so
it came out November.
No,
Yeah,
no,
the live
That
action
was Moana
animated, though.
2.
the live action one with the Rock.
Oh, the live action. My bad.
Oh, I know.
Yeah,
I'm
that
thinking of
comes out
Moana
later.
2. Moana 2 came
I
out
mean,
last year.
Yeah.
All of this to me seems pointless. Like, I know not Disney, but like, you know how they're also remaking How to Train Your Dragon? Like, at this
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like,
We
we're just
are-
remaking all the
Because
things.
there's no safe
We-
bet.
That's the era we're in.
That's
We're
exactly
just
Sorry.
we have stagnated as a culture, and all we're doing is regurgitating the things that we've done already. It's like eating the leftovers of a takeaway the day after, you know, when it's cold
Yeah.
and greasy and congealed. Like that's what we're doing now as a culture because we can't come up with anything new.
Well, that's because the studios have painted themselves into this corner, right? I mean, they can't take a chance on a new IP because they don't have the money. They don't have the money. They have to know they're going to get a guaranteed return, even though the shit they're putting out isn't going to give them a good return. But they at least it's a known property and it has a chance to make a return. They're not going to take
actually what Verbal just said reminded me of Velma. When Mindy Kaling made that terrible Velma show, it was supposed to be its own IP, but WB's like, we're not doing that if it's not like something that people already know. So they just took that show that Mindy Kaling made or whatever, and then like threw it onto the skeleton of Velma, Scooby Doo, and then it got made. It's still terrible, but you know what I mean. Like,
the same thing happened with Todd Phillips' Joker movie, man. With the Joker, that wasn't supposed to be a Joker movie. It was supposed to be a different film, but they were like, "Hey, we can't take a chance on it." He's like, "Well, what if it happens in Gotham? What about then?" Right? And then it became a Joker movie.
Yeah, so the big problem is that instead of creatives in these leadership roles, you have CEOs, and they deal in widgets. They don't deal in unknowns. They don't deal in creativity. What they're focused on is data and numbers, and what they're saying is we don't trust the audience to make a decision themselves. They aren't going to be able, they're not going to want to see something new. They want something that they already know, something that they believe they can trust. That's what the data tells us. So that's what we need to do. That's why Marvel is still that's why they're still cranking out superhero genre stuff, because they have nothing else. They've come out and said there is nothing else at this time that they can take a risk on making, because it used to be an actor could bring people to it could be a new IP, but it was the actor that you knew and trusted would bring the butts to the seats. So instead of leaning on IPs, they would lean on the actor or the actress or that power couple pairing. And they destroyed that. And so now that that's gone, they're leaning on the IPs that people know and recognize to put butts in seats, and it doesn't work because then you can't grow.
To be fair, I mean, Hollywood does occasionally attempt to make new IPs and to release original movies. So, for example, just this year, Mickey 17. And we, for anyone who's seen Mickey 17 knows how that went. That is a fucking terrible movie.
Oh, Christ. That is TDS condensed into movie
I watched Drinker's review on it. It's like Trump derangement syndrome, right?
It really is.
It's just TDS, the movie. And it's like 100. And it's not just that. That wasn't even my biggest problem with it. It was just how bad the plotting and the story world building. It's just everything. The world building, the plot. We'll not get into Mickey 17, but that was like $120 million. And then.
Yeah, and then like you've got other things like what is it, The Electric State, which I know is based on a graphic novel, and apparently the graphic novel is really good, but like the movie is absolute fucking dog shit, like awful.
And the thing that sucks, man, is I was actually looking forward to that one. I was like, I really want to see this. Actually, both of those movies. I went to see Mickey 17 as well, and I didn't go with Gore to go watch it, the premiere of it, or the screening of it. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just catch it in my local theater, when it comes out, because I really want to see this movie. And then when I got the reviews back for it, I was just like, damn it. I was like, I wanted this movie to be good, man.
It's awful, but like it's the fact that it takes itself seriously as well. When you got fucking Mr. Peanut Head, like delivering big somber monologues about like robots deserving self-determination and that they have souls and stuff. It's like, you're a fucking peanut, bro. Like,
That was bizarre.
I can't take you seriously.
Yeah.
When the movie started, I thought it was some sort of political parody or satire. I thought, okay, this world build is so wrong and so bizarre that it can only work as a kind of parody or a parable. And no, it honestly, it wants you to accept this as the world build. By the way, Drinker, I only saw half the movie, so I'm guessing Stanley Tucci turns out to be the bad guy.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, well, I got it.
So like the whole premise is like her brother is like hooked into their mainframe, and they like use him as like a kind of network node. He's like the brain, his super autistic space brain or whatever is like powerful enough to run their entire network. And he downloaded his consciousness into the fucking Cosmo robot so that he could sneak out and then get his sister to come rescue him. But then when she does, he's like, looks like I'm kind of crippled, and like you should probably just kill me then. And then that's what she does, and then the whole network goes down, and like that's it. The bad guys.
Why does that plot remind me of that one DLC from Mass Effect, Overlord?
Oh, you know, I was thinking the same thing, man. I was thinking the
exact
same thing.
It's like, oh, there's an autistic guy who can do complications, and you download it, and I'm just like, is he just talking about Overlord from Mass Effect? Never mind, it's all good.
There's a bunch of things about the movie as well that just jumped out at me as making no sense. Like the thing's set in the 90s, so they can have like recognizable 90s songs and like technology and stuff. But it means absolutely nothing in the wider context of the story. It's just there for 90s member berries, I guess, because now we're doing 90s nostalgia instead of 80s nostalgia. And two, Millie Bobby Brown is playing like the oldest, most shot out looking teenager I have ever seen in my fucking life. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, don't get me wrong, it's not like she's ugly or anything like that, or that she looks like haggard or anything. She just looks older than she is. It's like when you find out Laura Dern was like 23 when she did Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's insane.
And everyone thought she was like 35 or something. Like that's what she looks like. She looks way fucking older than she is. And so when she's playing like this like rebellious teenager, I'm like, fuck me, you look like you're approaching middle age. I don't know what to say.
No,
it's weird. I don't know.
Hollywood seems to go through that phase though, where it's like real teenagers play teenagers, but then they want older actors and actresses to play teenagers, possibly because of like the content that's going to be in it. But they seem to go back and forth between these really young kids playing teenagers or these older kids playing teenagers, and it tends to be really bizarre because you'll have like Sarah Michelle Gellar was playing a teenager for years.
She kind of looked like she could carry it off because she did look quite young.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone like Millie Bobby Brown just doesn't look her age, and that's unfortunate. But like, you need to be sensible about who you're casting. Not everyone can play every role.
And again, she's not unattractive. She just looks older than a teenager. So
yeah. And so the whole thing's weird, and it's like they can't work out what kind of relationship she's supposed to have with Chris Pratt, who's basically just playing Chris Pratt, like phoning it in.
Yeah, Chris Pratt turns around to her when they scene, and he says, "What are you doing down here, kid?" And it's like, if I saw Millie Bobby Brown looking like that, I wouldn't call her kid. I wouldn't think of her as a child. I would, and if I was Chris Pratt, I would think, oh wow, who's this attractive woman who has appeared in my shed? Have I got a shot here? Like, that would be my first thought, not kid.
No, this was the Russos, right?
Yes.
Okay. So at what point do we start to like expose them? Because I don't know. There's this weird thing that the Russos are these great directors, and for me, it's like, have they done anything great outside of Marvel?
I honestly don't think so. Because I was looking back through their film.
They liked what?
The Gray Man. Everyone talks about it.
Was it a hit though?
My sarcasm is not.
It was a Netflix.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Have they had a hit outside of the MCU?
This is why I love Michael Bay, because he's a one-trick pony and he knows it and he sticks with it. And then you have people who do not want to admit that they are one-trick ponies and then destroy good stories because they refuse to admit that they are one-trick ponies that are not like built for the stories that they are telling, and if they even care about the stories that they are telling.
See, my thing about the Russos is this, though, right? They were able to do great things with Endgame and with Infinity War because they had a great lead up to it, right? They don't have that lead up going into Secret Wars and Doomsday, so I don't have faith that they're going to do anything decent with these two movies.
You don't think Agatha and Loki aren't? You don't think those are strong lead ups?
Aside from those two hits,
yeah, everyone loved them. Well, I mean, like I think we can conclude at this point: Captain America: Brave New World was a flop.
No.
Thunderbolts is next. That's probably going to either flop or not make much.
I have a feeling Thunderbolts will do pretty good. I have a feeling.
What are you basing that on? Because like I just don't get what the selling point is meant to be.
I mean, like for me, I think I just think because it's I don't want to say it's like a different Marvel movie, but it at least doesn't look terrible to me. Captain America looked terrible. Like I saw that movie because Flash said I had to see it for Flashcast, so I watched it, and I was like, "This is awful." Thunderbolts doesn't like it looks fine. You know what I mean? It looks fine. I haven't really been excited about anything MCU for a long time now. Daredevil Born Again is also disappointing me pretty greatly, pretty routinely. So I'm just kind of like at this point, I don't have much faith in the MCU at all, really, because once they reboot it, because that's what's going to happen with Secret Wars, what's the point? You know, because the same people will still be in charge of everything. So the same mistakes will get made regardless in some way anyways. Like Kevin Feige's still there. Like I remember that Bo DeMayo guy said that Kevin Feige hated the fact that X-Men 97 did as well as it did because it hurt his ego. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with the Joker, right? They made the Joker 2 because you guys enjoyed the first one the wrong way. So it's like, I'm just not really, I guess, have a lot of faith in these people anymore when it comes to these things. And like, even with Spider-Man, like I already know what's going to happen with Spider-Man. They're just going to bring in Miles Morales and replace Spider-Man eventually. So
I think with
yeah.
In the case of Thunderbolts, I think expectations are low, and I get the impression it was a relatively smooth shoot, and it didn't require loads of reshoots and everything, and it probably came in like cheaper than most of what they produce. So that is probably in its favor, but against it, it's just like nobody gives a shit about any of these characters, man.
That's the problem. Yeah, like when I think of the Thunderbolts, that is not the team that comes to mind. Like
no, not at all.
I think of Thunderbolts, and I'm thinking like where's like Punisher. You know, you could have Elektra on there. She's been on there before. I would even love to see people like Carnage on there at some point.
Well,
someone else thinking more interesting. You know,
as the centerpiece of this team, you've got like Yelena and Red Guardian. Like, and if you're not one of the people who watched Black Widow, and there's not that many people who did, you're not going to know who they are. Mm-hmm. You've got John Walker. So if you didn't watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you're going to have no fucking clue who he is.
Exactly.
You've got that girl who was in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ghost.
Yeah. Like, and everyone will have forgotten about her because that movie's so fucking forgettable. I could barely even recall her name. And beyond that, like, who else have you got?
Taskmaster was also
Taskmaster,
another one from Black Widow. Who, again, that movie.
That's terribly. And that's
so
the problem is that like
her.
Everyone on the Thunderbolts team right now, as far as we can see, their powers range from we're just athletic or we can shoot guns pretty much. And then like I guess Ghost can
well John Walker has the serum, but still, I mean it's
but like so does Red Guardian, right? To a degree as well.
What
so it's kind of like and
what
Bucky
is Thunderbolt releasing against? What is its competition?
So it's coming out in May. So
Jurassic World Rebirth.
The Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yeah, I think
no. That's July. So
that's
Jurassic
July.
World Rebirth is July, and that's going to be going up against Fantastic Four and Superman. In May, it's going to be Mission Impossible. I think.
Here's the thing. I think that the Thunderbolts are going to be the dark horse in this. I went to Endymion on this. I think it's actually going to be better than what people think. You know.
But even if it is,
why?
People are still not going to show up.
Well, okay. The reason why I say that is because one of my sources at the MCU, I have like two, basically told me that, you know, and he was right about everything else. He said that Thunderbolts was actually just a fun action movie. He's like, at the end of the day, you have a good time. It doesn't make you think too hard. The cast has good chemistry with each other. It's not going to be like the greatest thing you've ever seen, he said, but it'll be a satisfactory action movie, basically.
That's what I'm looking at it as. And plus, you got Sentry.
But here's the thing, right? Cool. That for me, there's that distinction between like, is it good and will it actually do well? And I believe you when you say it's probably just a fun action movie, and like it's the cast are probably fine and they probably have a good laugh together. That's all good. I just don't think it's going to actually perform well.
Because that's totally fair.
Being less shit than the other shit still makes it shit. Like it's still not
right. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it's going to be shit. I think it's going to be
the bar is so low.
I think it could become a casualty of like this. It'd be like in Star Wars how you had like that. Christ, what was that kiddie show that came out? Skeleton Crew, where it's like, okay, that's probably one of the better things they've made in the whole Star Wars pantheon, right? But nobody fucking watched it because everyone just like is done with Star Wars now. And I think this could succumb to the same problem where it's like it might actually be a decent movie as an action movie that's just, you can just enjoy it for what it is. But Marvel's taken such a hit recently and so many like underperformers and flops that people just won't even give it a chance because they don't care anymore.
I can tell you right now, the worst thing the MCU has done, honestly, is put Captain America out. If they would have just if they would have shelved Brave New World and just like left it to Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four, they'd probably be in better shape than they are in right now. But people have that taint of Brave New World in their head, and it's going to lead right into Thunderbolts, and that's going to lead right into Fantastic Four.
But in between Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts, you have Ironheart. Like,
oh yeah,
like
oh my god, I forgot about that.
It's so
this is true. Because
like
that's going to bring back the Marvel brand. That's going to restore faith in Marvel.
That's like this release schedule doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever, because Ironheart is a series on D+, and they've been saying, like, they've been hyping it up and how exciting it is, and this was supposed to be like, what, 3 years ago now is when this was supposed to be released?
It's been in the can for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
let's do a quick prediction. Sorry, Lady Gravemaster. Do you think, and I'm asking you this, so Daredevil has bombed. It's done astoundingly abysmal numbers on D+. Will Ironheart do worse?
Yeah.
Oh, will it do worse? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. One, because nobody knows who Ironheart is. Two, you have half of them, like, if you're just talking MCU fans, they don't view Tom Holland's Spider-Man as Spider-Man. They view him as, like, Iron Boy, or, like, who's going to essentially take over for both Iron Man and Spider-Man, which isn't necessarily going to work, because that's not who Spider-Man is. He cares about New York. It's the same thing that I got pissed off with the Daredevil reboot, because you can't say that you're a continuation of a far superior show and then gut everything that made that show fantastic. Why on God's green earth would why would he leave Hell's Kitchen? He would never leave Hell's Kitchen. You've lost your freaking mind. Like,
I have so many problems with the Daredevil show so far. It's ridiculous. It is the perfect allegory for everything that Disney is. They have inflated the suit with, like, zombie bits and Frankenstein monster bits a little bit of Disney magic. Tinkerbell is waving her little wand, so you look at the pretty lights and not the actual shit that is inside of these suits. But I completely disagree with you guys, because I've got 4 kids, 12 and younger. The girls went through their Disney princesses. They love the original cartoons. They had no interest in Snow White. In fact, my oldest daughter said that, I hope you have fun watching that by yourself, Mom. That was exactly what she told me, because the trailer, she hated. Gonna bomb. Then you've got Thunderbolts. Oh my gosh, my kiddos they loved Infinity War, and they loved Endgame, like the payoffs and stuff, even though it's not a super great film in my opinion, but they loved it. No interest in Thunderbolts. They don't want to go. Their friends don't want to go. And Fantastic Four, literally, when I teach 5th grade, one of my 5th grade boys literally looked at me and said, he looked at me and he was like, they should have done Fantastic Four like 10 years ago. They've totally missed it. Like, it's not going to be good. And this is a 5th grade boy who, he loves his comics. The one reason that he was able to come out of his shell is because he found out that I love pop culture and all of this stuff, and I knew some stuff. When he found out that I liked Batman better than I liked Superman, he took that very personal, and I got a 32-minute lecture on why Superman is superior to Batman. It was very moving and very convincing, but I digress. He is really scared for the upcoming Superman movie, because he said, he was like, Mrs. Gravemaster, obviously that's not my name, but he was like, Mrs. Gravemaster, I'm really worried because he only saves one kid. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, he's dead at the beginning. So he thought that Superman was dead at the beginning, like when he hits the snow. He thought Superman was dead. And then he's like, and he only saves one kid. And I was like, but there's more in the movie, I'm sure. And he was like, he goes, but it's scary because, like, Superman loves kids. Like, that's all he could think about. So, like, it's crazy when you hear it from these kids' perspective. None of these kids, it's spring break for a lot of the country here in the US.
none of them are going to Snow White. None of them.
No, they're going to stay home and play Fortnite.
Well,
yeah.
No. They're gonna play Assassin's Creed Shadow.
Assassin's Creed Shadow.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then they're going to refund it.
Well, I can tell you from experience, from what I know, that believe it or not, they did want to shelve Ironheart. They did. They just can't.
Oh yeah, I believe that 100%.
Because of contracts, because of optics, especially because of optics. they can't shelve Ironheart, and they really wanted to. So the thing is, Disney, or at least the MCU part of Disney, they know they've messed up over the past couple of years. They do know this, and they are, believe it or not, trying to right the ship. The problem is it's going to take a while for that ship to get where it needs to go. We're probably not going to look at anything good for the next probably 2 or 3 years.
I have a question. So after this year of Marvel, next year, it's just Doomsday? If that
Just
even
Doomsday,
happens?
Yeah,
Right.
like
So Spider-Man
there's
the year
nothing
after?
else on the docket but Doomsday.
No, Spider-Man has a movie in 2026.
Yeah.
But
Oh
that's
yeah,
Sony.
yeah.
That's
I just read a
that's
rumor today.
Sony.
People are saying
No,
that
you're right.
Spider-Man
And then
villain is going to
Doomsday.
be a woman now.
The
I'm
what?
like, who could it be? Apparently, the villain for Spider-Man 4 is a woman. That's what the rumors are saying online. But I'm like, who knows if they're true, right? But
I haven't heard any news about Spider-Man 4
Yeah.
yet.
I just know that it's supposed to release in 2026 and that it will not have Zendaya in it.
Yeah, it
thank
doesn't
God.
have that chick from Stranger Things in it.
yeah, Sadie
Yeah.
Sink.
Thank you.
So it's weird because Sony Marvel is also kind of doing its own thing, and
Oh.
I don't know. It's very disjointed, and there seems to be at the very least a narrative inconsistency between what Sony wants to do with Spider-Man and what Disney Marvel wants to do with Spider-Man.
This is what Sony has to do with Spider-Man. First of all, they got to get rid of all the activists at Insomniac and make Spider-Man 3 an amazing game, and the Venom game that's coming out. Number 2, get Sam Raimi and just make Spider-Man 4. For God's sakes, just give him money.
Sam
And go,
Raimi.
Sam, just go make your movie, and that's it. And just let Toby come back, give us the classic Spider-Man again.
I think at this point,
They'll make $1
you're
billion.
more likely to get an Andrew Garfield
Oh, yeah.
continuation. You know,
Yeah,
I'd be okay
he's
with
more
that
up
too.
for doing it, and he's younger, and he's probably better able to continue that. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen. Like Sony have tried for so long to get their own like little mini continuity going, and it's pretty much failed for the most part. I mean, wow. Remember Madam Web? Remember Craven the Hunter? Great stuff, guys. Like
The
I think
terrible
great
work.
thing is those had like I mean, but we can say this about anything, but they could have been good. They could have, but they just continue to like crap the bed for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, look, hypothetically, anything could be good if it's
Exactly.
if it's well implemented. It's just like, they certainly didn't have the money to do it. Sony are notoriously cheap when it comes to investing in movies like this.
Yeah, they are.
Mhm.
And when it's effects heavy, it's a superhero movie. You need that obviously behind you, and they just didn't have the time or the amount of characters and like IPs that they needed to build up like an interesting universe. Like Venom was the only one, and somehow those movies kept making money, even though they were unbelievably generic and forgettable. Like,
Oh,
people
Venom
kept
3
going to
was
see them.
awful.
I
Yeah,
love all
They
three.
wasted them.
They are my what is that like
Guilty pleasure.
guilty pleasures? I for whatever reason absolutely love those movies. And I cannot tell you why because they're not good. They're
Verbal Riot. Like, what is the buzz around Fantastic Four?
Honestly,
That you
man,
know
so far the buzz is good. I I keep checking in because I'm like, how's it looking? How's it looking? But it's so far it's looking pretty good, man. I mean, maybe because they don't have the constraints of having to adhere to, what's going on in the past 10 years of the MCU. They're able to do something fresh, something new. They're able to stick a little bit more closer to the story. From what I've seen of Galactus, it looks good. I mean, they're going there with it. So I'm just like, I won't let myself have too much hope, but
Definitely better not to. Yeah.
everything has been sounding positive about it. So
Have you heard anything about Silver Surfer? Because I know it's a woman now.
It's still a chick. I don't know how big of a role she's going to play in it, but it's still that one chick from the Ozarks or whatever.
Yeah.
Does she have hair at least on her head or no?
That I don't know. I haven't seen any. Like that one. They're keeping very close to the chest, like to the vest. They're not. There's no pictures of the Silver Surfer at all.
Yeah. There's a couple of super chats here that just I really liked. One of them was Hail Drinker, MauLer, and Pano. I'll be extremely disappointed if Zegler doesn't have a Billy Eichner level meltdown when this movie bombs. Despot will get that reference. The karma would be epic. Yeah, didn't he blame everyone for the failure of Bros?
He said he blamed specifically straight people. It was their fault that Bros bombed.
Of course,
I read because I did a lot of research for my video on that, and it was bizarre. The press coming out before that was suggesting that it was going to be a smash hit, and there was one article I read saying Bros could be the first gay smash hit. There were people saying this thing was going to make hundreds of millions of dollars. It was truly delusional, and he believed this shit because he had cast the movie with just people he described as openly LGBTQ. Everyone in the cast and all the actors had to be from. That's illegal, by the way. It's illegal under Title VII. But he cast the entire movie just with openly LGBTQ people, and they'd filled his head with this shit. So when it bombed, he just had a fucking meltdown. It was great.
I don't understand. What do you mean first gay smash hit? Didn't Batman Forever make a bunch of money?
No, Bros, Bros was the first gay movie. So there you go.
Batman wasn't openly gay though.
Yes, he was.
It's on the down low.
Yeah, it was pretty closeted actually.
Yeah. I like this one as well. If they changed who was fairest to be the most just, then why would the evil queen care if someone else was more just? The whole premise makes more sense.
But see, that's the other part of the problem with this movie, man. Is every time she asked the mirror that question, the mirror always responded in a way that made it sound like it was about the looks, right? It wasn't until the very end where the mirror was like, "Oh, her inner beauty and her inner strength is what makes her the fairest." I'm like, so all this time you've been trolling this queen, right? Saying that she's the fairest, right? Because it sounded like it was based on looks, and then at the very end we find out it's about her inner spirit or some dumb shit like that. So and
to be fair, the evil queen has an entire number about how everything is fair when you are the fairest. So obviously, because she's the most beautiful, she cannot make a mistake. She gives everybody exactly what they are supposed to have.
True. I mean, possibly making a statement as well, like, hey, if you're an attractive, beautiful woman, you get to play life on easy mode because everything's fair.
Pretty much. And then at the end, it was interesting. Like this, when I say the plot was all over the place and you can't actually nail anything down, I'm not kidding, because at the end, before she pulls out the glass dagger, she magics a rose, and she's like, everybody thinks they want a flower, and then she like turns the flower to ash. And she's like, but you don't want a flower. A flower cannot rule a kingdom. A flower cannot protect you. A flower cannot this. And I'm just like, okay, so then why are you so obsessed with how well you look? Like how you look? If a flower isn't, it's very, bro, my notes go for days. It's bad. It doesn't make any sense because it's so self-contradicting. It spent 5 years in like being worked on, and it's still looks like maybe a second take, as opposed like this needed several more workovers because it's just insane.
It kind of feels like what they're trying to do is bend like this classic fairy tale around like modern ideology, but they 100%. Don't know how to actually get it to work like that. So you get this awkward halfway house where it's like trying to jump in with themes like this about who's more just, who's more fair, how do we get like equity for all and stuff, but it doesn't really work within the context of the story, so they just kind of shove it in anyway and hope for the best. That's the impression I'm getting.
Yep.
If to be honest with you, man, I kind of wished they would have just stuck with their original story. Like I wish they would have, like, I wanted this movie to be way worse than it was. And I say that in the way of, look, if I'm gonna sit through a bad movie, I don't want to be bored. I want it to be the worst thing I've ever seen. So at least I have something to laugh at, something to talk about.
Yeah.
The problem was, it's like, you know, they tried to like Frankenstein this movie together. Because by the way, you could tell At which point they changed the story within the movie, especially that ridiculous love story that they tacked on with the bandit king or whatever he's supposed to be. Even the way he kisses her when he wakes her up looked pretty gay. I'm sorry, it's just did. I'm like, that's not the way a straight man kisses a woman.
What romance? Bandit King. Wait, what? Who kisses who?
So when she eats the apple, she has to be woken up by a kiss, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Oh,
sorry.
so no, they do keep that, but it's not a prince who wakes her up; it's the bandit leader, right?
Ah, of course.
And even when he kisses her, it looks like like a gay friend kissing his girlfriend. What I mean?
I noticed that. So in the original, it's true love's first kiss. The prince is so enraptured by the beauty of this, this sleeping beauty that he's heard talk of, that he can't help himself. But it looks passionate, but in the new one, he kind of looks sad, and it's like he goes down and gives it. It's almost like the way a parent would kiss a sick child or something. It's just they've done their best to make it as passionless and sexless as they possibly can.
Just bleach every ounce of romance out of this movie. It's funny what you said there, Frobble, right, about like the forgettability of the film as well, because so many of the reviews echo that. Like there's one from the New York Times here saying, neither good enough to admire nor bad enough to joyfully skewer, its mediocrity is among its biggest bummers.
Yeah.
Jeremy Johns just said, just a movie I'm not going to remember.
Do you know what it is, though? They're wrong. I disagree with this. I think the movie is so astoundingly bad from start to finish. It doesn't necessarily have any troughs that stick out as really bad. So it's so bad, people don't even notice how bad it is, if you know what I'm getting at.
Yep. But the problem is, though, it's bad in a way that it's boring, man. It's
that's exactly.
Like, I wanted to be like, I wanted to be
Madam
like
Web is
bad,
good. Madam Web is good, and I really mean Madam Web is a good movie. It's a great trash movie. It's so much fun, but and I know people kind of wanted it to be like that, but it's not. It's unbelievably boring and dreary and sleep-inducing, and there's nothing. There's no like Madam Web lines of dialogue to sort of jolt you awake and give you
nobody
a good
driving through a wall and then the bad guy jumps into the car in the middle of
there's
New York
nothing
City or
like
something.
that. It's just these really long scenes that go on too long with these hideous kind of Broadway musical numbers and horrible CGI and horrible cinematography, and it's so boring.
And that's the problem, because for me,
horrible time.
Like, I actually liked Madam Web, right? And I liked it in a way because it was so bad it was good, right? Like I was having a great time because it was so bad, right? Like
it united the whole of of the audience.
Yes, and even
all of cinema, even united the actors in shitting on it. Like, it was great.
I mean, it was a fun bad movie, man.
It's the one movie I actually would love a sequel to, just because.
It's
I just want it to be so badly funny.
It's
that and Morbius. I want two of them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The fact that Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney were able to look good after that, like they left that movie without much tarnish, just because they showed up to the red carpet the way that they did, and they trashed it the way that they did. They were able to like leave it relatively unscathed.
That movie like pretty much made Sydney Sweeney's career. Like, if it hadn't been for that, like I know she'd had like other roles and stuff, but like she would not be the household name that she is now. She showed up to that premiere with that dress on. Everyone was talking about her. And she was just smart enough to like distance herself from the film and just have a bit of fun with it. And wow, look where she is now.
Amanda Stenberg could have done the exact same thing with The Acolyte. If Amanda Stenberg had done the same thing, because she's stunningly beautiful.
She is,
right?
Yeah.
And
when I saw her actually made up in that dress.
If she had done that and just, kind of not necessarily came out and said, like, The Acolyte is a horrible piece of shit, just throwing it under the bus and let it stay there, sort of laugh it off and be nice about it and charming like Sydney Sweeney was, that would have done a lot for her career. And instead, she sort of tethered herself to the Titanic, and rode it all the way to the bottom of the Atlantic.
Yeah, but the difference is that, Amanda Sandberg, is her name?
Stenberg.
Amanda Stenberg, Rachel Zegler. These are activists, man. These are activists. Sydney Sweeney's not an activist; she's an actress, right? The thing is, Rachel Zegler was that way before the movie. She was already that person. So was Amanda Stenberg. So they're they're going to do what they do. You know what I mean? They're going to preach. They're going to be obnoxious. They're going to be virtual signaling, the whole deal. The problem is now, though, like, these are what the studios are hiring, right? They're looking at these people. They're looking at their social media, and these are the people that they're hiring for these movies. Mm-hmm. Now, if you notice, what's kind of funny, you rarely see the guys acting this way outside of, Mark fuck up Ruffalo. Other than him, you rarely see the actors acting this way. These are all women who are, for some reason, thinking that they can behave the way that they do and still get parts and still get roles, man. And I'm sorry, but that's just not the way Hollywood is. I mean, maybe it is now, but you're talking about decades of the way the business used to function, right? If Rachel Zegler would have pulled this shit back in like the 90s or even the early 2000s, she would be done. You would never hear from this. You would never hear from this girl ever again.
Let me ask you this, though, Verbal, because I've looked at this exact question, and what I've found is that Hollywood tends to chew these actresses up and spit them out, because Brie Larson was like that, and Hollywood are giving her nothing. She's done. Her career's over. And it's partly because she was so fucking unlikable with her activism. Audiences didn't want to see her. They were very put off by her, and Hollywood won't give her anything anymore, and rightfully so. Another example, there's other ones as well. Oh, Tatiana Maslany from She-Hulk. She said some really nasty shit. She said stuff like, our show is a middle finger to the fans, and I fucking love that. Like, that's a verbatim quote, more or less, from her. And she's done, pretty much. Like, she didn't get anything after She-Hulk because nobody wanted to see her after that. Do you think Mindy Kaling's going to get any work anytime soon, apart from fucking From Love with Megan or whatever that piece of shit's called?
You know what?
It's done. I think it's done.
And that's a great question.
It does damage their career. It absolutely damages their career.
But they'll still get work, man. I mean, look at Zegler is still working, man. She hasn't had one hit, right? Like in her whole career, she hasn't had one hit.
When are they going to stop trying to make her a thing? She's got like 5 flops in a row now. Snow White's going to flop. Well,
she's doing like is it like the West End? She's going to be doing
Evita.
Evita,
yeah.
So like that's prestigious to a degree, but then it's like you're not doing A-list movies anymore, are you? And it's kind of like how Brie Larson is doing a play in the West End, and apparently it was dog shit anyway. But like she hasn't had a starring role in anything outside of The Marvels, which was a flop in 5 years. She's essentially done nothing with her career because she's not getting any roles. And so I think you're exactly right in that it's they wouldn't get outright condemnation like they would have done in previous decades. They're just quietly pushed aside and forgotten about now. And that's what will happen to Zegler. She won't get cast in anything major because people are going to know she's PR poison and nobody likes her. And that'll be it. Like her career will just kind of fade away before it even started. And
I'm pretty sure her. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say she threw that fit and was able to give an award at the Oscars.
Yeah, that was back after she did West Side Story.
Yeah.
So that was when she was still kind of a rising star and people didn't know how much of an arsehole she was. But then
I'm pretty sure that she's already been dumped by her agent for sure. Agents right now in Hollywood are literally dumping their clients left and right, man. I'm sure she's probably one of those right now. I think her best hope, to be honest with you, is I think she should stick with Broadway. Go to Broadway, do the Broadway thing. She has a good voice. She could say a few lines without tripping over her feet, so she'll do fine on Broadway. And also, Broadway is a very different crowd. They're a little bit more pretentious, a little bit more up their own ass. So she'll do fine with that crowd completely. If she does come back in the movies, though, here's what's going to happen. She's only going to be able to come back in a supporting role. She'll be, like I said, she'll be the best friend of the lead actress. She'll have that part for like probably the rest of her life. But to me, that's the only way she's going to sneak back into movies is by supporting. She's no longer going to be a lead actress. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, the thing is, she's not really she's not beautiful enough to be a leading lady. She doesn't have the charisma or the acting chops, as far as I can see, to do that kind of thing anyway. So like supporting roles would be her natural focal point. That's like probably the best she can hope for.
Anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking like best case scenario situation.
Yeah.
Especially now. So like the big thing that hurts with, I don't know if you guys saw the article, but she came out and said that the disagreement or the backlash against the Snow White live action is because of the passion of the original animated one. And so she says that afterwards, but what she did, and maybe it's just because I'm the only girl up here, but like all those little girls, she insulted when she came out and said that it was dated and that it was pathetic and that the love story was, you know, not something that girls should aspire to. She insulted like 4 generations of Disney fans who were little girls that looked up to Snow White, who, even though she was in rags and she was being mistreated by the queen, her beauty, like the prince was drawn to her. He didn't see her at first. He heard her voice. And so he scaled a wall, and then he saw her, and then he spoke with her, and he was so taken with her that he wanted to do something for her to give her a better life. He didn't even realize she was the princess at the time. And so all of these little girls and all of these young women and all of these older women now who still have this dream of being seen for who they really are by a man who will really love them, she bitch slapped all of us in the face. Like, she doesn't care. And then to turn around and try to say, oh, like, it was taken out of context, that's not what we were talking about that day, and it comes from passion of the original movie, is gaslighting to the extreme. It's so incredibly toxic. And if anybody has spent any time like around human beings, we don't enjoy being lied to at all, but especially by someone who is so entitled and so full of themselves that they can't even realize that they are the problem. And suddenly it's because the way that she framed that, it's still not her fault. It's everyone else's fault for being passionate about the original film. She's literally still laying blame on fans. It's wild.
I think I got the impression that she was trying to replicate what Henry Cavill had done when he was
100%.
when The Witcher was copping a lot of criticism, and some asshole journalist had tried to bait him into saying like, don't you think that the fans are toxic and like it must be a nightmare to deal with them? And he was like, no, I'm not buying this bullshit. It's like, that's passion. Like, they're interested in this. They want to see it done correctly. And yeah, we're never going to quite live up to people's expectations, but we try our best. And like, he played it about as well as a person could possibly play something like that, and spun it into something positive. And I think she was trying to replicate that, but without any of the actual sincerity behind it. And so you get it. Like, people now have a pretty good radar for bullshit and insincerity from actors. And when you see something like that, it's like, yeah, someone's just trying to steal someone else's playbook. That's all it is.
You know, also something that's been missing from Hollywood for a long time. You know, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day while we are having some drinks. These people just they're not getting media trained anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there was a time when, especially young Hollywood would get media trained, right? Like, and they would know how to handle themselves on a red carpet. They would know how to handle an asshole reporter who's just trying to get a soundbite, right? They knew how to handle these people. They don't have that anymore. And so you're throwing these people pretty much out to the wolves because these reporters, you know, they're manipulators. They know how to get the soundbite that they want. And these kids, because I mean, let's be honest, man, Rachel Zegler, especially when she did that interview, was like what, 19 or something like that? 19,
22,
20,
I think. Yeah, early 20s.
But she's young, and you know, they're not training these people how to handle that anymore. And you really got to learn, man. You got to know how to do that. I was watching that premiere of Blake Lively's movie with Anna Kendrick, and the way Anna Kendrick handled the media was genius. Genius. Like, she wouldn't let them get one soundbite. And I'm like,
deflected everything they said and was like,
and I'm like, that's how you do it, man.
Yeah.
Because like, I think it was Despot who made a video about this. It was probably in relation to Brie Larson, where she shut down a journalist trying to get another soundbite. And it's like this crazy realization that actors eventually have, that like, these journalists are your enemy. They're not trying to help you, and they're not on your side. They are just trying to get a soundbite out of you that they can spin into some controversial article to get some clicks for themselves. That is all it is. They're constantly trying to entrap you.
Too.
Same
thing.
And so once you realize that, and a lot of actors unfortunately realize it far too late, they're too open. They just like say what they think people want to hear, or, you know, in some cases what they actually believe, but they probably shouldn't say it. And they get fucked over and their careers are destroyed because of it. But the journalists don't care. They got their sound bites, they got their articles, they got some clicks and attention. Okay, move on to the next victim. And that's all it is, time after time.
Well, there's an article out there. I'll have to try and find it, but it's literally and she does an interview. They are they're hiring based on followers. Like, if you don't have the social media presence, I forget who said it. But there's an interview of it. She's like, if you don't have the social media following, they have to hire.
Oh,
other
that was Ethan Hawke's daughter,
Yeah.
Maya Hawke. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, if you don't have the following, then they will hire other people around you that do have the following, because they want to use those platforms basically for free to promote their film.
That
And so
explains why
they're-
Zendaya gets picked all the time.
Yep.
That's
Like
exactly why
200
Zendaya
million
is always getting
followers,
picked.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see her in the Odyssey, man. That's going to be wild.
Yeah. That looks, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
about
looks
that
shit.
Yeah.
Nolan might have gone a bridge too far on that one, but there's a bunch of questions that came in here. One of them was intriguing. I didn't know this, actually. That Alan Ritchson clearly desperately wants to play Batman. Do you think he'd make a good Batman? He's probably the only one who would never have to wear a
Physically,
muscle
yes.
suit.
Yeah, I mean,
physically, yes, but like, unfortunately for me, and I know for a lot of people, he's been very vocal lately, like being negative about, like, you know, about conservative people and stuff.
Yeah, he'd be
And it's
kind
just-
of
it just
political
comes
when
off,
he
like,
hasn't been
gross.
before.
Yeah, and like, it's a big reason why I haven't watched Reacher season 3. I'm just kind of like, I'm good, thanks. But like, if we're just going based on like physical looks and stuff like that, like, I guess, yeah, sure, he could play it. I don't know if he has the acting chops, honestly, to play the character, because Batman's more than just the suit. You know what I mean? Like, Robert Pattinson surprisingly played a good Batman. Like, I was very surprised by that movie when I watched it. But you do need someone that needs to be, you know, physically in the same kind of height area as the guy playing Superman, David something. But that guy's like 6'4" or 5. Yeah, and like
he's a pretty big guy.
He's a pretty tall dude, and like Richson's, I think, like 6'3", 4. Because then, so I'm like, physically, I would say he's a good fit for Batman. Acting wise, not convinced personally. Even though I've seen both seasons of Reacher before, I never find the acting very good in those either. I didn't think he was very good in the other one he did, Titans, where he played Hawk.
I just don't know if he could.
Yeah,
because if he has to play Bruce Wayne, he obviously has to kind of he has to have the suave, bearing of a billionaire, really, a guy who's grown up in a life of privilege. He has to be sophisticated, and I just don't know if that's his style as an actor.
I don't know what actor right now, like, gun to my head, who should play Batman right now. There's not a single actor that comes to my head where I'm like,
Pedro
that's
Pascal.
the one.
Oh God,
Jesus Christ.
Zendaya.
Yeah. I honestly don't know.
I'd like this. Alan Ritchson would make a perfect Space Marine. He would actually, yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Wouldn't have to bulk up or anything. Cavill as a force commander,
I'm worried about
as a
that
sergeant.
I'm worried about that Warhammer show because, like, and people that know Warhammer, it's so larger than life. Like, just the Space Marines alone, they'd have to do the CGI like they did in the Lord of the Rings, where like you have Aragorn standing next to Frodo, and they actually have the height difference. The Space Marines are massive. They're not the size of, like, you know, me or you. They're like the Hulk,
Space
pretty
Marine.
much.
Yeah, they're about 7.5 feet tall. Yeah.
But
on
so
average,
they're gonna have
like,
to use
some
those.
of the Primarchs are 9 feet tall. So, like, yeah, they are insane.
Interesting to see how they do it, though.
I just want Henry Cavill to get a win, man. I think he's overdue for
all
a win.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, he is the classic example of, like, he gets cast in so many promising roles which he puts his heart and soul into, obviously cares about the source material, and they all turn out to be dog shit, and they totally waste his abilities. So
I'm still salty about Witcher.
Yeah,
That,
as a
to me,
woman,
that's still one of the biggest
apologize.
losses.
I apologize on behalf of women for what they did to The Witcher. I'm sorry.
It's such a massive waste of potential.
Yeah, it really is.
Is that show still on, by the way?
Yeah.
Isn't it like one final
more
season?
Yeah.
I tapped out after the second season, so I don't know.
So we got Liam Hemsworth, I think, replacing Cavill.
Yep.
And hey, by the way, he's not a bad, like when you actually see him as Geralt and like the behind the scenes, he's not a bad pick. He's not a bad pick. But is he Henry Cavill? No. But he's not a bad pick. But like at this point, it's like, who really cares? Because I know there was a video this one guy did on YouTube named Neon Knight. He did a video about the new Witcher animated movie and how they just destroy the source material for the new animated movie. And they even got the guy that did the voice for Geralt in the games to play Geralt in that animated movie. Yeah. because the movie is supposed to be based off of this like short story that's in one of the Witcher books. That's like kind of a riff on the Little Mermaid, sort of, but like done like the Witcher way.
Yeah.
And they do an animated movie on Netflix. I forgot what it's called, like Sirens of the Deep, I believe that's what it's called. And it's just dog water. It's so bad. And it's just like at this point, Netflix needs to take Witcher out. Two mercy shots to the back of the head. Let it die. Let it rot. Please, God, let somebody else take it up, because The Witcher should have been the next Game of Thrones. Straight up.
That's what they were. That's what they were obviously hoping for. The tone
should have been that.
Pretty the same, and they had a good cast. They had a lot of potential
there.
But God, that first season shit the bed, and then every other season's just built on that failure. That's the problem. And their obsession is with Ciri and with what's the other one?
Yennefer,
the witch. Yennefer, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's like you got a female showrunner, of course she's gonna obsess over the fucking female characters, and so Geralt just gets pushed into the background in like pretty much every episode.
In Witcher's defense, though, Ciri does have a big part, so I understand making her a big part of it. But like,
sure,
when I saw
Yennefer's
actor, though, I was like, what are we doing, guys? And then Triss, oh my God, I was like, oh, I'm out. It was awful.
Triss was a weird one. Triss was like Halle Bailey with red hair. Like I don't get what they were going for with that one.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
Even Fringilla, they just made her like a straight up black woman, and I'm just like, we're just changing everybody, I guess. I mean, and it's so weird because, like, again, The Witcher is based off of like Slavic folklore. Like, I'm Slavic,
Polish,
so this is like this is my wheelhouse. You know what I mean? And it's like we can't have shit basically. Everything has to be like race swapped and whatever. And
it's like I've talked about this before, and I think other people have pointed this out. Right? See, once you have like a medieval village at the ass end of nowhere that's got like the most diverse group of villagers living there, it looks like downtown LA. It destroys any sense of immersion you could possibly have, because like a place like this couldn't ever exist. It's absurd.
I agree.
But like that's the quotas require, that stuff like that happens. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, how did all these different people from wildly different places end up in this one little village?
I remember people getting mad at the games journals getting mad, being like, why is Witcher 3 all white people? It's like, because it's based on Poland, and Polish people are white, so that's why they're all white. It's like, what's the big deal? Like, you never see them complaining about these things the other way around.
See,
why is Wakanda all black people?
Right.
Wakanda's a black people like nation. You know,
and my problem with it is, like, if it took place like during like current times, even then I'm like, okay, that's fine. But when you're talking about these ancient times, man, like things weren't as like racially diverse as they are right now. Like back in those ancient times, there wouldn't have been like, an Asian person there, a black person there, a Mexican person there. It wouldn't have been like that. Like things were very just homogenous back in those days. So
people didn't have the ability to travel like halfway around the world
exactly
easily. Like, so they didn't, and so like people tended to be homogenous because there just wasn't the ability to move, and especially in the Witcher's world, people would not be traveling because there's literally all kinds of monsters. No one's going to be going around to like, well, we're going to go to this village and live there. It's like, okay, if you do that, there's a 90% chance you get eaten by like some giant monsters. So
it's interesting you say that, Endymion, because you don't need monsters. Just a basic reading of history teaches you that it's actually quite difficult to travel long distances prior to the 20th century without being attacked by bandits or just roving bands of criminals on the roads and things like that. That was a constant problem throughout Europe and the United States. And in the United States as well, you had Indians who would attack like random bands of settlers. So it was really dangerous prior to the 20th century. It was really dangerous to travel long distances without an escort. And it took months. You needed money. You needed a lot. Like, who here could stop working for a month, to go travel to another country, like a long, long journey? Probably very, very few people can do that. And, you go back a couple of centuries, nobody can do that. Do you know what I mean? So that was the reality of life. It was dangerous and it was a luxury to be able to travel. But you look at these shows and they're set hundreds of years ago, and it looks like a university campus, and they all look like that. In fact, when Shogun came out, it was so refreshing because it felt real for that reason. Everyone is Japanese except one guy and a couple of Portuguese, and it worked, and people were complaining. Based on real life events. Like, where's the black people? Why are there no black people in ancient Japan?
Well,
you know what I mean?
The problem as well, like, there's no sense of place with any of these locations in these shows, right? So Game of Thrones was great because like you could look at a location, right? Whether it was King's Landing, whether it was Dorne, whether it was Essos or whatever, right? You saw the buildings, you saw the general climate, you saw the people there, and you kind of knew where you were. They all had a distinct look and feel, they had a distinct culture, and it made sense, right? And that's all great. If you have something like Rings of Power, right? You go to any place and it's just the same mix of different ethnicities, the same mix of different peoples and cultures and everything, so that you get to the point where every place just basically looks the same. And so there's no sense of location to any of it. There's no sense that it's a living, breathing world with different groups, different factions, all that stuff. You lose all of it because they've got this insane desire to make just everything a hodgepodge of different groups of people that you get in, outside the window of the building where this was written. But that's not what these cultures would look like in such a vastly different
it would
time.
be like if they made a woke reimagining of something like they made like an African story, let's just say, and they have an African nation that's been like secluded from everybody. And there's a black guy in this African nation, but there's a white guy too. There's an Asian guy, and they all look you dead in the eye and say, yeah, we're all African. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it makes more sense. Make everyone black, make everyone over here white, make everyone over here Asian. Because that's how nations work. That's how they were back then. But it's just like the Californian stuff. And when we get into Assassin's Creed and stuff, like it's the same thing. It's like this Californian centric way of looking at things in a way. It's just, it seeps into everything and it ruins everything. And this is why, like, I get so much flack online when I call things out. But it has to be said because
it's also it's a world building issue as well. If you take a very diverse group of people and you put them in some backwater village in the mountains in Wheel of Time or something, okay, if you have that population, in less than 100 years, they're going to homogenize. You're going to have a ethnically homogenous people, or the outsiders are going to be bred very quickly into the majority population. And you're going to lose the ethnic diversity within 3 or 4, like 4 generations at an absolute maximum. And that's just the reality of it. It's biological fact. But no, you've got a guy with super dark skin next to an Asian guy, next to a pale white guy in a backwater mountain village. It's like, that's not even biologically possible.
Well, it also destroys like one of the fundamental elements of Wheel of Time. Rand stands out because of his red hair. Like it's incredibly, it's different from everybody else. And so that's how they know that his mother wasn't from the Two Rivers. And so Rand is very much an outsider in this town. But when they leave, when they set out to head, well, she follows for a completely different reason. The show screwed up so much stuff, but they're like, oh, you must be Two Rivers folk from the way you talk or the way that, or you look like you're from the Two Rivers. You sound like you're from the Two Rivers, but everybody's accent in the show is the same. And you can't even lean on like an accent thing because nobody sounds different.
Yeah. I tell you what, like Endymion, you mentioned Assassin's Creed. We should probably just dive into it. I think it's time, right? Because I spent the last couple hours subjecting myself to it before we started streaming this, and wow, what an experience that was! God,
were you just watching cutscenes or were you playing it?
I mean, like, I'd like to say I was playing it, but it was mostly just cutscenes. That's all the game offers you, really.
Did you make it to the hideout yet, or like, are you in the open world yet? Like, where are you?
We're not in the open. I've got to go back to what the fuck's her name? Like the mother of the strong female lead.
Okay, so you just got saved by the priest and then the boy.
Yeah, I got saved by the priest and then did the flashback to like the battle scene and stuff, and now I've just arrived back at her house.
By the way, that priest, that little boy is not really. I'll answer that right now. Not really. It's a little bit janky. It looks nice. I'm playing on PS5 Pro, so I don't know if that has to make it look better. Apparently, that's the best version of it, but
the lighting was weird in the version I played.
It's a nice looking game. Combat wise, in my opinion, so far from what I've played, it's nothing special. Like you play as Yasuke first. Basically, the game starts, just to recap quickly. You get there, the Portuguese get there, they bring Yasuke, Oda Nobunaga takes Yasuke with him, and then the game jumps forward 6 months later, and now Yasuke's a warrior pretty much right away. He has a samurai armor, all that stuff. You go fight people, and the game actually starts off, it's not really spoiler to say this, but it starts off with Oda Nobunaga's people basically burning down Naoe, the Asian assassin leading the game, her family kind of stronghold. And that's kind of like where it starts. Playing as Yasuke, it doesn't feel like you're playing in an Assassin's Creed game, to be honest with you. It just feels like you're playing, Always Sunny. Ghost of Tsushima is so much. Look, I've 100%ed Ghost of Tsushima. I love that game. This does not hold a candle to Tsushima in any way. And I think Drinker, because you're not in the open world just yet, but you will notice when you do go into the open world, I just want you to go off go off the road and just try to climb the grassy walls and stuff, and you'll notice that the game will just keep funneling you back to the road. You're not actually able to climb a lot of the things that are around you because the game wants to funnel you into these like road pathways to every location instead of like previous Assassin's Creed games. For example, in Valhalla, you can climb anything, like anything. Eivor can climb it. This one you can't.
This is the thing. Like, if you got to get from location to location, you can it will show as a dot on your HUD anyway, like to give you a rough bearing on where you need to go. But you can also enable like tracking so that it'll literally paint a line on the ground that you need to follow. And I think at that point, you might as well just press X to get there, because like, what's the point in like delaying it? It's just you're just essentially following a line on a map. Like, what's that accomplishing?
It feels very claustrophobic, despite it being open world. It might just be like an open area thing, but there's a lot of trees, and everything feels very like fenced in, and it really just wants to funnel you down these pathways of like, you're going to go here, you're not going to go off the beaten path yet. And I personally find that annoying from an Assassin's Creed point of view, because I've played all of the mainline ones. I consider them my junk food game, if you will. Like, for some people, it's Call of Duty. For me, it's Assassin's Creed. And as someone who's very intimately like well aware of what these games are like, Shadows so far honestly hasn't really convinced me. The stealth mechanics are better in a way, because, for example, now you can hold down square, you can go prone into the grass, and you're kind of like Metal Gear Solid, like slinking through the grass and stuff. That's pretty cool. But the problem here is that, like, if you want to have a traditional Assassin's Creed adventure, you're just going to play as Naoe, because as soon as you play as Yasuke, it's not an Assassin's Creed game anymore. It's just a really bad God of War clone. That's the best way I can put it.
Well, yeah, he's a tank, basically, isn't he? Because he can charge through like doors and everything. He's not even an assassin. He's not even an assassin. He doesn't get the hidden blade. It's very weird because Yasuke has access to range weaponry like bows and such, but Naoe, who's apparently a shinobi, is not able to use a bow in the game. She can only use like throwing knives, smoke bombs, and then she has like her hidden blade and stuff. So they kind of just took the camera's too close. I agree with that too. It's constantly getting in the way when I'm fighting stuff too. Yes.
Yeah. It's not like I said, so far, like what I've played, I'm not trying to be like, I know some people might say like, oh, he's just trying to hate on the game. Like, no, I genuinely like, why would I want Assassin's Creed to be bad? I like Assassin's Creed. I like those games. I've 100%ed plenty of them. Why would I want Shadows to be a bad game? But unfortunately, it's just mid. It is what it is, right? Like I 100%ed Kingdom Come Deliverance too. Why would I want that game to be bad? But unfortunately, I played it and I was like, it's not that great. Like it's passable at best, So I don't know. The culture war surrounding Assassin's Creed has been kind of very sickening in a lot of ways, because a lot of people are like, going at each other's throats a lot. But at the end of the day, I just think like we just want better games, And ultimately, if you want a great open world Japanese game, go play Ghost of Tsushima, go play Rise of the Ronin. That just came out on PC as well. Although I heard it's not performing very well, like performance-wise, like actually running the game. But Rise of the Ronin, that was also a very fun open world Japanese action RPG game made by Team Ninja, the people that made Neo and stuff. But so far with Shadows, like, I'm just not impressed. Like, just going to be honest with you. I'm not impressed. I think Odyssey's better. I think Valhalla's better than it still. I think Origins is far superior than it. Mirage is fine. I guess the game's kind of whatever. But this is, to me, in terms of like the RPG era of Assassin's Creed, this one so far feels the most like, what are we doing here kind of game. Like kind of a waste of time. So
I think
far,
definitely copping a lot of flack as well for like the things like the romance angles, where, as I understand it, there's like 4 different romances you can pursue in this. One of them is a heterosexual romance, and the other 3 are either gay or with a non-binary character.
Yeah.
Which is wow, that's quite a weighting there. Like,
Ubisoft has an option in the game called canon mode. You turn that on, and then you don't have to make any decisions in the game anymore. The game makes all the decisions for you in terms of this is like the canon choices. So canon mode choice wise, Naoe is lesbian canon. That's just if you put it on, that's what she becomes.
She is.
Of course she is. Because no man can tame.
Wait, the default is she's a lesbian?
Default, yeah. I know.
Modern gaming,
and then the default romance for Yasuke is actually worse because it's Lady Oichi or Ochi, however you say her name. She's considered the mother of Japan, like in real life. She was the younger sister of Oda Nobunaga. That's the guy that bought Yasuke. So her being the canon romance of Yasuke makes zero sense because if you actually look up her history,
I'm going to bring up the scene. I'll put it on mute so while you're talking so people can see it.
So
right?
Lady Ochi is basically like this is like she's basically a princess. Like she has heirs that have gone on to become prominent figures in Japanese history. And then Yasuke's apparently her main love interest, but historically she had one husband who died when he was really young, so then she got married again. And then her second husband, she ends up dying with him. This isn't spoilers, it's just like real life history. Her and her husband die because their kingdom gets attacked by other rival factions, and she does not want to leave her husband's side because she's so devoted to him. And you're telling me that this woman who was historically shown to be so devoted to her husband that she was willing to die with him is cheating on him repeatedly with this guy? Like, come on, guys. Like, it's just like the thing about Yasuke is he has been in other games, but like other games that have had him has been more of like fantasy-esque. Like he was in Neo 2, but he was only a boss battle. But here, having Yasuke as an actual playable main character in a game called Assassin's Creed, it is genuinely one of the worst decisions I think they've ever made. And I implore people to go watch a review from like Skill Up. Skill Up even says in his review that he had for this that came out today that like Yasuke is just pointless. Like just as a character being there, he's just completely pointless. And it's not because he's black or anything like that. Like I loved Bayek. He was voiced by a black guy, Abukar Salim. He's in a House of the Dragon and stuff. Like it has nothing to do with the skin color. It's everything to do with the fact that like the dude's just not an assassin. Like he's not. He can't climb stuff really. He can't do stealth kills. If he stealth kills someone, it's super loud. So it's like, why are we playing a character that's just not an assassin in an Assassin's Creed game? That's just utterly pointless. And a lot of the reviews are saying that like if you want to play Assassin's Creed in this game, stick to Naoe and just ignore Yasuke as much as you can. Because he's just not only is he stupid, but he's also broken to play as, overpowered.
So when the game opens up a bit, can you just switch between them at will? Is that
not right away. No. So you play as Naoe for quite a few hours, and you're kind of thrown into the open world, and she's the one that you kind of get introduced to all the mechanics of the game, like the hideouts and whatnot. And then eventually you will unlock Yasuke again, and then you can pick whoever you want. But then that brings up another problem, which is that Yasuke cannot. So people know that in Assassin's Creed games, there's the giant towers you synchronize, right? You climb to the top, big 360 view, and then you get like, that part of the map gets opened up and then you can see stuff. So if you play Yasuke, most of those synchronization points, you cannot actually climb as Yasuke. You have to be playing Naoe because you need the grappling hook to because the way Japanese architecture is done, right? We know it's like it goes out, then in, then out, then in. It's impossible to climb without the grappling hook. And again, Yasuke doesn't have that. So if you want to explore the world, you basically have to play Naoe. Otherwise, you play Naoe, get to a synchronization point, go into the menu, switch to Yasuke, reload the game. Now you're Yasuke, then you're Naoe, climb there, come down, then become Yasuke, and then do other stuff. But in a game called Assassin's Creed, you should be wanting to do assassin stuff. But with Yasuke, it just feels like you're playing, I don't know, like just like a generic action game, I guess.
I mean, the thing is, are the other Assassin's Creed games so plot heavy? Because I kind of imagine they would just be like going to the next mission, taking out the next target, and then moving on with a bit of story.
That's what Shadows ends up becoming too. Shadows is like, the problem with Shadows is that they're not really able to tell a very cohesive story because the way that the game is structured, because there's two protagonists, it's very hard for them to actually tell a story that matters in a sense. And what ends up happening, if you watch a lot of reviews, again, Skills reviews really great for this too, is that he says too, like, of course I'm not there yet, but he says in the last 5 hours of the game, that's where the story finally comes together, which has been a very long problem with not just this game, but like almost every game that Ubisoft has made, where it's like the story matters in the beginning for maybe about an hour, and then there's this massive middle part of the game that has like no real meaning really, and then it kind of just wraps things up really fast at the end, and then credits, and that's it. And this is again the same thing. So like Grums just posted the final boss to Assassin's Creed Shadows. He's like, it's not a spoiler, who cares? I'm not going to say what it is, but when I saw it, I was just kind of like, of course that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just propaganda again on full display, and it's just so painfully generic that you can tell that this game was. I do not think. Yeah, this is the non-binary love interest for Yasuke.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Play the audio. Play the audio. Play the audio.
You want to hear it? All
yeah. Play the audio. It's awful.
Do you think someone might see us? Maybe.
So yeah, you do have a couple of romance options, but like I was saying, I think 3 of them are gay and 1 of them is straight. So it's like,
is that
which parade do they want us to go?
No, it's just a guy who thinks he's not man or woman, I guess.
I just kind of wonder, like, was that a thing that was widely accepted in feudal Japan? I just kind of feel like
the thing really about Japan is like they were open about these things. Like they have this whole here we go. They have this whole thing in Japan where like I forgot what it's called, but there's a lady that worked on the game. Her name is I can't remember her first name, but her last name is Schmidt Hori, and she wrote this book about like this ancient tradition apparently where like old Japanese monks would keep the company of like young boys, and these young boys would be trained to become monks, but the young boys would also have to be like, as bad as it sounds, forced to have SCX with these old Japanese monks, and it was like a whole thing apparently. And she got like put onto Shadows as like a consultant. So when you first play the game and you meet that old monk guy at the beginning with the little boy, immediately I'm just like, oh no. I don't know if they're insinuating yet, but like the fact that like she consulted on it, that's what she specializes in, and then those characters are like what you meet immediately. That made me immediately like raise a red flag. Like that is just super weird. The kid Sanjiro, that's his name, the little chubby Japanese kid. So I'm just like, that's creepy, but okay. But it just like I just feel like from playing this game, when I compare it to the other Assassin's Creeds, it's just not very good so far. And it's very, like I said, it's very linear in terms of actual exploration. The only real assassinating kind of stuff you can do is when you have these giant castles that you can kind of go around and find the targets and kill to get to the legendary chest. The combat itself just doesn't really feel like they've evolved anything in any meaningful way. And I really just hate the idea of like taking what you could have done in other games and splitting between 2 people now. Because in older games like in Odyssey, you could do everything. You could stealth kill, you could use bow and arrows, you could use longbows, you could use whatever kind of weapons you want. And in this game, it's like, no. Naoe does this, Yasuke does this, they can't do both. And it's like, why do that when we never had that really before besides Syndicate, which was another game that didn't sell very well. So ironically, so I just feel like the whole game is misguided. And the worst part so far, besides all of this, is just that the writing is just not very good. And I find the voice acting very bad, especially Naoe. Her voice acting is just very inconsistent.
Pretty much every cutscene, like you kind of have to suffer through them. They go on forever, and the voice acting. I don't know if like the actual Japanese is better because you can switch between Japanese and like the English version. The English version is like everyone's doing like the most stereotypical like Japanese like over the top accents that you could pick.
It just reminds me of the Japanese guy from South Park. And the Chinese guy, Shitty Walk and stuff.
Yeah.
It comes to my mind when I'm like, this is just so bad.
Yeah, it's almost like fried rice.
Yeah.
Welcome
to Shitty Walk. I get your order.
Yeah.
Goddamn Mongolians bringing down my shitty wall. Yeah, like that's kind of what it sounds like to me. It just sounds more like a parody than anything else. And I'm just not impressed by it so far. There's a lot of these AAA games that come out recently that the critics seem to love them, and then I play them, and then I just kind of think like, are we playing 2 different games? The same thing with Kingdom Come Deliverance too. It's the same way. It's just like these games are getting high review scores. Then you play them and you're kind of just going like, even with Dragon Age Veilguard, it's the same way. And it's funny because if you look at Assassin's Creed, the way that they're kind of trying to spin the story with Shadows, It's very similar, almost verbatim to Dragon Age Veilguard. Because with Veilguard, they're saying how the game is returned to form. So many reviews said that.
Oh, yeah.
And you go look up Shadow's reviews, and a bunch of the reviews are return to form, return to
It's
form.
like, it's like they've been given notes from Ubisoft or something. It's like, this. Like, we're back. It's a return to form.
It's really bad. And you're also seeing the...
We're definitely not going into liquidation after this. Trust me.
No, I mean,
So is Ubisoft like making good on their promises to go after bad reviews, basically?
Here's the thing, like when people were saying that, they were saying, like, oh no, like Grums and you are gonna get like sued and stuff, and we're like, no, because when you look at what they're trying to say, which by the way, this is all reference to this like French article done by this one journalist, so it's not 100% true anyways, which is what I say in one of my videos. But the problem with that whole shtick is that the only way Ubisoft could come after people for harassment, I guess, is if we went after one, developer and was like, hey guys, we're gonna, hypothetically, we're not doing this, we'll just say like, we're gonna like dox this developer, we're gonna harass them, find out where they live, and assault them or something like that. Like at that point, yes, you can sue people, obviously, but you can't sue someone for talking about your product. You just can't
like
do
if
that.
the game itself is shit and you talk about just the game, it's like, well, what can you do? That's someone's opinion about your product.
Yeah, like I say this, I think I said this like 2 videos ago, but like if what Ubisoft is trying to do got normalized, then technically 100% of all criticisms on the internet would be liable to be sued. Like if Drinker made a review about Snow White, like Disney could sue him because I didn't like the movie. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Like that, you can't sue someone for that.
It could just be a smear tactic. For example, if Disney came out and said, if any of those YouTube critics or any critics try to physically attack Rachel Zegler or any members of our cast, we're going to make sure there's legal repercussions.
That's different though, right? That's different.
No. But the point is they're trying to imply that people want to do this. So I think maybe what Ubisoft is getting at is they know that this is bullshit, but they're basically trying to imply that the critics who don't like Assassin's Creed are the kind of people who would harass and who would dox developers and who would bully, which is bullshit because it's Ubisoft who are bullying developers and sexually harassing them.
Unironically,
money.
They're the ones who are making these like Grums and stuff. Those are the people that dox people, and they have in the past, and we have proof of that, right? Those are the kind of people that, like, for example, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the whole Smash JT, Alyssa Mercanti lawsuit thing. Like,
oh yeah,
like Smash got doxed straight up. Like he got doxed by her and all that, right? Like it's not actually, if you want to say our side that's doing the doxing or per se the harassing the way they think it is. It's actually that other side, the crazy people that are, kind of aligned with the journalists and stuff. Those are the ones that are actually resorting to that kind of stuff. It's not actually us. And I tell my viewers all the time. I mean, hurting the dev's feelings, that's one. I actually had a dev this morning email me to apologize about Shadows, which was kind of funny. And I told him, like, don't worry, it's not your fault. Like, I know it's people at the top. They're like, yeah, we know, but if you have any questions, like, I'm like, it's fine, don't worry about it. Like, it's not your fault that Shadows is like kind of mid, but it's okay. I know it's the people at the top. It's not your fault. So I always tell people, like, don't harass the developers, because if you do that, they're just going to use it as like ammunition to attack people. It's very different between criticizing Rachel Zegler's performance in Snow White and finding her in person and choke slamming her through a glass table. Those are two very different things. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can criticize her all you want. Don't assault her. And the same thing with these Ubisoft employees or whatever. You can criticize the game. You can say it's ass. You can say Yasuke's, he doesn't make any sense to be in Assassin's Creed game, which he doesn't. You can say that now his acting is not very good, which it isn't. But just as long as you keep your criticisms on the video game as a product, and you're not attacking the developers, you're in the clear.
Everyone I think that's ultimately that's all anyone would look to do anyway. Like anyone of sound mind, like it's kind of weird to go after individual developers.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, and the difference being, man, a developer, they're not in the public eye. They're guys who are doing a job, right? If you're a celebrity, you're in the public eye, so you're open to scrutiny, you're open to critique, you're open to whatever, right? But developers aren't. They're
However, what I have noticed, sorry to interrupt, but if I have noticed, if you go look at any of the Assassin's Creed Shadows trailers that have devs in it now, you will notice they're only listed with their first names. For example, the creative director of the game, when you look him up on the live stream and the videos, it's this like bald white guy with like a beard. It'll say his name, Charles, creative director, not Charles something, just Charles.
Right.
And the same thing with other people, like another lady named like Brooke that's in one of the trailers. Just Brooke, no last name. And that's I can tell why they're doing that is because there are going to be some people that have taken things too far. And I made a whole video about this too, where I think parts of the whole Gamergate thing have been co-opted by people that are not necessarily in it for the good reasons, that they're almost using it to hurt others instead of using it to be critical feedback in a sense. And I always tell people, like, make sure that when those people do those kinds of things, you call them out. Because I had someone who attacked me for that kind of stuff too. And I was like, because I was playing, I think it was like Kingdom Come or something. And they were like, oh, you're supporting them and stuff. It's like, yeah, but if like, for example, like me buying Dragon Age, me buying Assassin's Creed, if my one copy bought can cost that company 1,000 sales or whatever it is, then that one sale means nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of was getting asked the same thing. It's like, why are you playing this this game? Why are you playing Assassin's Creed Shadows when, like, you kind of know it's going to be a bit shit? And it's like, well, again, people are going to get to see this stream if they're kind of curious about the game and thinking about buying it, and maybe what they'll see me doing, they'll like it. Or maybe they won't, in which case that informs their decision and they will or won't buy it because of that. And that can save them money. And so that's
exactly
a service. Like, that's kind of why we do what we do. It's the same reason
that's
we
what
review
I did with
movies.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
You know, like, we give our thoughts on them. And, like, people can then decide, well, I'm going to go to the movie theater and pay good money to go see this thing or not, you know?
Yeah, it's because of you and other guys. That's why I didn't watch Mickey 17, because I was like, oh, that looks fun. And then you guys like, it's trunk derangement syndrome. And I went, oh, okay, never mind. But how would I know that, right? Unless I watched the review.
I've got a mission here. MauLer, you've got to play Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. We'd love to see your opinion on them.
Those are long games.
MauLer.
If you want to give me a curated list of how to experience Final Fantasy as an IP, you go right ahead, okay? I find it all very confusing. Do I start with 17 or 1 or 16?
It doesn't matter. They're all just individual.
7B? Like, which one? Which one do you want to do?
Every Final Fantasy game is its own individual story, so you don't have to start anywhere in particular. But these ones are available on current generation hardware, and like they're as up to date as you can be. And I think they're a pretty good, a pretty good remake of the original. It goes in a slightly weird, different direction, but I don't know. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it. I think.
Fair. Final Fantasy is something I've managed to accidentally avoid like my whole life.
I know. I don't know how you did it.
Like turn-based games or no?
No, I do. I quite like a lot of those sorts of things. But is that what all of them play as? Or?
No, not all of them. But I think if you want to get like the best Final Fantasy condensed into what Final Fantasy is, and it's not gonna be too hard for you to like digest and play through, I would actually probably suggest you play Final Fantasy X. Because I think 10's a really good representation of what Final Fantasy is. That's the last game that the creator of Final Fantasy, Hironobu Sakaguchi, worked on. It's not that long if you just play the story. It's pretty linear. It was on the PS2 when it first came out. The story, like, I don't want to spoil anything, but really good story, really good music, really good lore, mythology, characters, all of that. Do you know who Titus is, or Titus, as some people say? The guy that has the infamous laugh? Yeah. He looks kind of like Meg Ryan in shorts.
Yeah.
There's a real like surfer dude theme throughout that entire game. It's kind of
it's great.
A weird vibe, but
Tactics is fantastic.
That one's amazing too, yeah. But Tactics is apparently that one's getting remade or somewhat remastered soon. So I would just probably wait out on that.
Right.
Apparently this Final Fantasy 9 is getting remade as well to be more like, not like Remake 7, more like I would say more like a Tales of game, like kind of that style. Apparently the combat's more like Tales of Vesperia, which I don't know if anyone's played that. I love that game. But anyway, that's what they're going to apparently be doing with that one. But I think Final Fantasy X, man, that one, Final Fantasy 12 is really good too. That's in the same world as Tactics, Ivalice. But if you want a short one, I say short, it's Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 6 is probably a really good one too, or even 4. I'd recommend those two. The other thing
I was going to just briefly touch on here is we're coming to the end of the first quarter of the year, right? And normally in March, this is the point where box office starts to pick up a little bit. January, it's a dump month. February, to some extent, it still is. By the time you get to March, things should really be, picking up. We're getting more towards the big releases for the summer movie season. And it really hasn't happened this year. There's actually an article about it in the Hollywood Reporter that came out a couple of days ago, talking about the previous weekend, last weekend, saying that Novocaine had topped the list of the worst weekend so far of the year for box office. I think it brought in just $8.7 million, which is kind of an interesting one, like, because actually, like, as much as I shit on Novocaine on its premise, and like I don't just want to see another like weak guy played by Jack Quaid getting his ass handed to him, it's actually not a terrible movie. Like, some of the fight scenes are actually quite fun and inventive, and it's got one of the most horrific bone-breaking moments I've seen in movies for quite a while. But yeah, generally it just speaks to this like lack of interest that seems to have permeated Hollywood this year. We've had a bunch of flops. Obviously, Mickey 17 absolutely flopped. Captain America, Brave New World absolutely flopped. Nothing seems to be working right now. And it's kind of sad that like theaters seem to be hanging their hopes on Snow White rejuvenating their box office prospects. I don't think it's gonna, but I don't know, like, what has gone wrong this year? Like, where's all the revenue? Where's all the box office interest gone?
Well, number one, the movies haven't been good. I mean, that's one thing. But also, I mean, if you look at Mickey 17, it's going to be on streaming at the end of the month. The movie just came out like 2 weeks ago, and it's going to be streaming at the end of the month. So these theaters are basically killing them. Well, it's not the theaters. The studios are killing themselves in the theater because they're not leaving the movies in there long enough, man. Even if your movie isn't doing well, you got to give it at least 3 months, at least 90 days to like do something. You know what I mean? And back in the day, you remember, I mean, movies would stay in the theater for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, now at the end of the month, a brand new movie's coming out that was just in the theater. So people are like, look, man, movies cost $20 a pop, right? And that's if you don't take a date or buy popcorn and soda. So why would I spend that money when I could wait 3 weeks and it's on stream and I could watch it in the comfort of my own home, drinking a beer, you know, watching it in my sweats, right?
Yes.
The last movie I saw in theaters was like Nosferatu, which I thought was great. But I saw that.
Has there been a great movie? Because I do think if a movie's genuinely great, audiences will turn up to see it. Has there been a great movie that got a reasonably wide release in the past couple of years that flopped? I know that's a bit of a specific question, and it might be hard to think of one, but can anybody think of one? The Fall Guy's shite. Fall Guy's
I disagree.
Fall Guy was fun. It was a fun movie.
I wouldn't describe it as great. I would say it was
I think the Fall Guy was a series of boring non sequiturs that just sort of fell into each other. I got what they were going for, but I just think it was a mess. I couldn't even finish it.
That's fair.
Would we say that Dune, the first Dune, flopped or at least underperformed? I don't think it did great.
I don't think it's a great movie,
actually.
But didn't that come out like during COVID, like around that time ish?
Oh yeah, you're right, because
that was a COVID movie as well.
I think it was streaming at the same time it was in the theater.
It was, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it was during that weird period.
The fact that it still did pretty good though.
Because I mean, what movie has flopped that deserved to be successful? I mean, maybe Furiosa.
I didn't watch it either.
And like I said, I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's good. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend someone go see it.
Yeah, I like Furiosa. I wouldn't say it was a great movie though.
Yeah, 100%. 20 minutes too long.
Yeah,
I mean, Madam Web deserved more success.
Madam Web deserved all the money.
Because I can't think of one. I can't think of a movie where it flopped and I was like, man, that movie should have done so much better.
Here's a slightly different question for you, right? What was the last like big cultural event movie that like, oh man, everyone was fucking talking about this film, like it was
Deadpool
crazy.
Deadpool and Wolverine, like it goes back to Marvel.
Were they though? Like it definitely did really well, but I just didn't get the feeling that everyone was like super excited about it. Like, in mainstream consciousness,
the equivalent of a Happy Meal is gone. No one cares anymore.
I mean, Barbie cracked the normie market.
I think that's probably the last one I can think of where it's like it became
Well, Barbie
was another one.
Maverick.
That was another one.
But then, Barbie was the year after that. So, like, that was probably the last big summer event movie that I think was in the mainstream consciousness. And that was 2 years ago. And we've not had anything like that since then.
Yeah, besides Deadpool and Wolverine, no. That was the only one. That did like 1 billion.
And that's the opposite of what I'm talking about. I'm saying, well, what movie flopped that didn't deserve to? And instead, you get movies that are mid as fuck, like Deadpool and Wolverine, which is not even mid. It's a
kind of you.
Inside Out 2, which is, well, I mean, I just said more like it's mid in terms of entertainment value, but as a whole movie, it's a piece of shit. But then Inside Out 2 is mid, and that was like the most successful movie, animated movie of all time, I think. So
Yeah,
you've got these movies that are just not, they're putting in gigantic box office that they don't deserve. Sorry, go ahead, Verbal.
No, I was going to say you're right. Inside Out 2 did very well, but you also have to remember it was a very solid kids movie.
Yeah,
so
a
very solid kids movie is always going to do great in the box office.
Yeah,
because you're not just buying one ticket, you're buying 3 or 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but then I just looked up its box office and it did relatively well. So never mind. But that was probably the best movie I've seen in years.
That was
really good.
Boots: The Last Wish,
really good.
A movie like I like no expectation for that movie at all. My girlfriend was like, "Oh, like that's the Shrek thing. Let's watch that." I'm like, "All right, fine, I'll rent it." Renting it, started watching it, and I'm just like, at the end of the movie, I was like, "This is cinema. This was cinema. Like, what the hell did I just see?"
To go back to the point we were just discussing there, Despot, what I was really driving there is that it really feels like the enthusiasm for going to the movie theaters just seems to have died off recently. I mean, I know we've talked about this in various forms over the past couple of years because there's been a lot of shit movies and stuff, but now it just feels like there isn't really anything that people are genuinely excited about that's going to be another big summer event movie or just a movie that's going to have a big cultural impact. And I just wonder, like, is that ever going to come back, or is that just something that we've lost now and we don't have that shared cultural experience anymore? Like, it's going to be more fragmented than that.
Well, I think especially this year, we're probably not going to have that. I mean, you have to remember, man, people are hanging their hopes on Superman or Fantastic Four. Like, those are really kind of the only 2 big movies that I hear at least consistently people looking forward to seeing. And both of those are more out of curiosity than excitement, right? They're more curious about how they're going to turn out, not so much excited that they're coming out.
Isn't that
they should be, honestly, they should be
though?
afraid. I was going to say they should be afraid of Jurassic World as well.
Yeah.
That is going to do... I hate to say it because it's probably going to be shit, but like those movies make $1 billion each easily, and like that is serious money compared to like most superhero movies now. So that could end up dominating July and fucking them over.
Well, and a lot of people don't realize, man. You know, and I've been reading comics since 1983, right? So I'm a hardcore like comic book fan. I love the Fantastic Four. You know, I love them. They're Marvel's first family, right? Most people don't feel that way about the Fantastic Four as a franchise. Like, even if you look at the 20th century, the Fox movies, right? They did okay, but people don't really clamor to like the Fantastic Four the way they do like the X-Men or the Avengers, right? The Fantastic Four is a weird one. So if Marvel's like hanging their hats on the Fantastic Four, it has to be because of spectacle, not because of the IP itself, right? So that one is really a question mark. That's going to be a big question mark. I'd be more concerned if I were Warner Brothers right now, because everything I've been hearing about Superman is not good. And,
really?
and they're banking everything on Superman right now. If Superman fails, Warner Brothers done. Like, Superman has to succeed. So I don't know what they're going to do, man. Like, James Gunn's job, his position rests on this one movie.
Well,
that's what I was going to say. Like,
movie.
Well, yeah. Hypothetically, if this fails, like, would he be out? Would they just cancel his
here's
vision?
the thing. Yes, because there's no way they're going to put more money into, more DC projects. If Superman doesn't do well,
have you heard that? Have you heard from people that if Superman flops, he's out?
There's been whispers that he's not sleeping well. There's rumors that he's not looking good right now. Like he's James Gunn usually is pretty cool and pretty like collected. There's rumblings that he's not doing very well physically, meaning like the stress is really getting to him at this point. So
old, isn't he?
He's what?
Or kind of? He's pretty old, isn't he?
I mean,
nah, he's like 50s.
He's like my age, I guess. So yeah, I guess old. If you count 50 old, I mean, shit, man.
It's like the literal point.
I mean, I don't know. He's like a lot of gray hair. I don't know.
Well, yeah, he decided to stop dyeing his hair at one point. It's like he went from like brown to just like completely white overnight, and it was weird.
Well,
but like,
so what do you think Superman needs to make in order to be considered successful? Then, like, what's the number you think?
I mean,
like
it has to
700,
go.
800
It has to
million
go
plus.
above and beyond its budget. That's for sure. I mean, it just can't. You know what? It just can't lose money. It can't lose money for So, and that's the thing. But this movie's it's pretty expensive, man. Like, it's a pretty expensive film. So I don't know how they're going to measure success on this. Like, are they going to compare? Are they going to compare it to the Batman numbers? Or
well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but how much so, right? Like, how by how much?
Literally, how much he makes will determine how much leverage he gets. I don't think they'll boot him, even if Superman flops. It'll be like one more chance after that before they start to have to.
Well, they're definitely going to cancel a lot of his projects, though.
Well, sure, but we got Supergirl coming, right? That's being filmed. A lot of these projects are in production. They're all going to collapse right after Superman, so it will be after all of that or during whatever. But this is complicated. Like, it might give Matt Reeves more power for all we know. There's obviously a fight going on behind the scenes, but to have done this level of a clean slate to then do it again, like, I'd have to imagine that he would have to have negotiated with them, like, hey, Superman might not bring us, but you got to give more of a chance. Got to let this universe grow, like some kind of coping way to get through this. Because could you imagine if they had a full change of leadership again?
Yeah, how many times can you reboot DC?
Abrams
on film,
is still
man?
there.
But that's the thing. I don't know if they reboot DC. They might just completely let it go for a little while.
I mean, all their games are failing too, right? Multiverses died. The Wonder Woman game died.
Mortal
Suicide
Kombat
Squad
1
died.
not doing great.
Yeah. There's
That's
a
what
lot
happens
of like
when you shoot
bleeding
Batman
money.
in the face.
I think
Endymion,
he was a clone.
It's fine. It turns out
Yeah,
it's a
fine.
clone.
It doesn't
fucking
matter.
clone.
Retcon, yeah, last minute change.
I just know there's a lot of pressure right now on James Gunn to succeed in this, and
yeah, Superman is huge, like in terms of what's determined,
and it's not looking great. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, people.
Well,
are
here's the hypothetical
Abrams
question, right? Say for example, Jurassic World sweeps in July, right? And Superman and the Fantastic Four flop. What the fuck's that going to do for superhero movies? This is like the last stand for.
It might be it, man.
Honestly,
it might be it.
Because think of it from the investor perspective. If you're an investor and somebody's asking you for $100 million, whether you're a bank or you're a creditor or something, and a studio says we want $100 million to make another Superman movie or another superhero movie, are you going to give them that money after Fantastic Four and Superman flop and Captain America's flopped and I think that next Marvel piece of shit's going to flop. That's going to flop.
Well, have you guys listened to the shareholders meeting that Disney had today?
No.
What about it?
Yep, they had it, and they are. It was apparently a unanimous vote by the board to not dial back on a based off of an LGBTQ plus study. The board unanimously voted to not dial back and to not change course. So
there's no way that's going to happen. There's no way.
So you've either got Disney Marvel that will completely ignore what the Disney board has voted on and stated, or they are going to go lockstep and just be more subversive with it. Like that's your option. And then you have
everything. They're just going to continue to make everything lame and gay.
Pretty much.
Okay,
we need to pander harder, damn it.
I can tell you right now from my source, they are kind of cutting everybody right now. Like they've already gotten rid of a bunch of activists who work there. They're not messing around. They can't afford to lose any more money. There's no way they're going to double down on this shit that's not working.
That's what. So the board voted otherwise, but here's the thing: the people on that board, they're CEOs of. It's like the Pepsi CEO. It's like it's the Coca-Cola. It's CEOs of other companies that are making this decision, that want the grant money that they are still entitled to, regardless of what the White House is going to cut. So regardless of what politically is going to happen, they voted, and regardless of what the culture is saying, the board voted for this direction. And then you look at Warner Brothers, and when you are looking at that, they gave J.J. Abrams $400 million, and Abrams hasn't done anything, and he's still there at WB. And you've got James Gunn, who all he had to do was make a great Superman film, and he has decided to make Guardians of the Galaxy 4 based off of the promo stuff we've seen. Because why would you, in your first outing with Superman, why would it not be about Superman and Lois Lane and that dichotomy? Why would you have Guy Gardner? Why would you have Hawkgirl? Hawkgirl is one of my favorite DC characters, but she is wildly obscure for a lot of people. Hardly anybody really knows who she is. Like, why are you bringing in all of these other heroes? And why is your marketing? Why is Lois Lane kneeling in front of Superman while it looks like Brainiac is vaporizing the city outside the window? Like, what is going on?
Well, I mean, I can tell you why Gunn did that. Gunn's wheelhouse isn't Superman. His wheelhouse is obscure characters, right? Like the Guardians, like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that he'll go with the Guy Gardner or a Hawkgirl or a Metamorpho or a character like that, because that's where his wheelhouse is.
Yeah, but that's my point.
Characters.
It's just like I said earlier in the stream. James Gunn is a one-trick pony, and he won't admit it to himself. He can only do Guardians. He can't do Superman.
I might agree with you on that one, actually. Yeah. I don't
personally.
I
I would want more DC stuff in the vein of the Batman. I think, in my opinion, Marvel has already pretty much sucked that well dry of like the corny, family friendly, let's be funny kind of superhero movie.
Yeah, Josh
and
Whedon
then
humor.
Yeah, exactly. And then like the Batman comes out, and it's more adult. You know, people look at it like it's a real movie.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's what DC needs to be.
You've got
it needs to be more like that.
No, DC just needs to be DC.
Yeah, it's what the Batman is.
Like,
That's what I'm talking about.
I think I think what Endymion's saying is like when you've got a character like Superman in his movie, like the tone and the style of it is going to be more reminiscent of Marvel than it is like something like the Batman, which is darker, more gritty. Like it's essentially a detective story with some superhero elements to it, and they've had success there. You know, the Batman. Although it wasn't a huge financial success, it was pretty well received. The Penguin, it's been a great spin-off. It's like done great in like the critical reception and the, you know, as far as I know, the audience reception.
Little caveat there though. Batman came out in 2021, right? So a little bit during or 2022, 2021, somewhere there. So like COVID was still kind of a thing, and it still made like $700 and something million. So the fact that it made that much with the whole, you know, global thing going on, I consider that a win. You know, like I mean, if there wasn't the COVID thing going on, it probably would have done even better. So the fact that it made $700 million amidst all this, I'd say
hence why they've all been talking almost vaguely about the filming of the Batman Part 2 being at the end of the year. They're waiting for Superman's results before they move forward on that.
Yeah, because I remember them trying to say if like the one side of DC wants Pattinson to be the Batman in the DCU, of course Matt Reeves doesn't want that. Because then he has
because there's going to be there's going to be like a separate Batman in the James Gunn.
Yeah, but they're not letting James do that while they don't know the fate of this Batman. Obviously, that's why if Superman was hyper successful, let's say it made $3 billion, they'd probably be like, goodbye, Reeves. James Gunn's getting full power on everything.
Yeah,
but if it flops or if it comes close to it, they're probably going to be like, listen, let's see how the Batman 2 does. Let's make that. Let's see what the money looks like, and then the bean counters can decide who to invest.
That's what I'm saying though. It's like if DC wanted to make all the money, they just have to essentially, I mean, not really a knock towards most MCU movies, but they just have to make real movies. You know what I mean? You know what I mean when I say that? Like, real movies with like real filmmaking. It's not just like CGI slop all over the place. It's not Ant-Man 3. You know what I mean?
Well, look, I've been hypercritical of James Gunn in the last year, but I'm still willing to see what he does with Superman. I haven't written it off yet.
Yeah, me either. I want to see what happens with it, but like, I will admit, like when I saw the suit for the first time, I was like, that's definitely Guardians of the Galaxy 3 looking Superman suit.
I'd say the marketing has been awful for this film. Made loads of mistakes.
Very much so. In fact, if they were smart, they would just stop showing things, man. Like until you have like a real trailer ready to go, stop the behind the scenes stuff. Stop like leaking pictures. Stop all this garbage. Just wait until you have a real trailer, because right now you're just hurting the film.
But also, isn't it weird that we don't have a real trailer and it's March and this thing is due to drop in 4 months?
It is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's part of the reason. Like, they're holding back because they don't want to show us too much. They build the anticipation, they build the mystery around it, and then hit us with it quite close to release. I'm not sure. Or it could be that like they don't know what the fuck they're doing and they're scared. Either
Or
way, it's possible.
they're still shooting. They're still shooting shit. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's not finished.
Yeah.
That's wild. There's less than that's insane. There's less than 150 days until this is supposed to release.
Yep.
Like you cannot, as an editor, that's not enough time. Like,
Well, they may be editing sort of the first two acts and they're finishing up the third act. That's also possible. They're doing both simultaneously. I would guess that's what they're doing.
Well,
I mean,
maybe
there's
they
no
do
other way
have-
they could do it.
They might have a handful of trailers done. They just don't know which one to go with yet.
Could be. Tell you what, should we do a few super chats? Because there's quite a few. And they've come in quite steadily throughout this, and I've not had a chance to really address them yet. There's a couple here. One from John Babb for $100 says, "Hi, Drinker. You've been my #1 boy since I found you 5 years ago when I was serving in the Air Force. I'm a music composer and my team is based in Hollywood. I can't say who, but the singers and industry people that I talk with tell me how much they despise wokeness." Oh, yeah, and there's part 2, another $100. So thank you, my friend. There are 2 masks, one for public and one for private. Anyway, if you ever need music for your projects or YouTube, please keep me in mind. I can send you examples. Endymion, thank you for your videos on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. You saved me a lot of money. This is the first time that I've seen Lady Gravemaster.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let me just...
I can attest to that, by the way. I have lots of game developers that say the same thing. They have one mask when they're working, and then one when they're not. There's a lot of them are acting like they go along with the thing, but they don't actually.
Oh, that's Hollywood in a nutshell, man. Like,
it's always the same thing. You get emails from people in Hollywood saying like, I secretly agree with you, but I can't ever say it in public. It's like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. Escape the Prison Colony says, "Unfortunately, the only movies I'm looking forward to are remakes and a 20+ year sequel. Lilo and Stitch for the nostalgia and the leftist meltdown. Happy Gilmore 2 because it's Adam Sandler. What's the panel's thoughts on these movies?" I like the trailer for Happy Gilmore 2, actually. Kind of interested.
You did?
I haven't seen that one, the trailer for that, but the Stitch one was good. I think Stitch looks cute.
I think Lilo and Stitch is going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I agree.
Probably.
They made Stitch cute. Like, they made CGI Stitch cute. And it worked with Grogu. It will definitely work with Stitch.
Yeah, they got Stitch in the little, like, hula hoop dress and everything, doing his little dance and stuff. I'm like, yeah, why not? He's like, he looks kind of like a little cute dog to me. Like, that's the vibe I get from him. So that's probably the only Disney thing coming out where I'm actually like, I would actually maybe watch that in theater just because Stitch is adorable. But everything else they're making, pretty much, I'm like, I can just wait to rent it or watch it on Disney Plus. Like, I don't really care.
Yeah. There was this thing you shared there, Endymion, saying that DC Japan is going to tease the Superman trailer getting released tomorrow, apparently.
Yeah, allegedly.
Intriguing.
We'll see if that happens or not.
Yeah. No, that's curious then.
Be good timing.
Yeah. Let me go back to the beginning here. So 2 Cent Fandom says, "Thoughts on Jameson and ginger ale?" It's not bad. I'm not a huge ginger ale man, but it goes with certain things, especially rum, it's quite good.
It's not bad at all, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of a go-to for me.
Yeah.
I just like spiced rum and Coke.
Yeah. If we're going to have rum mixed with something, it's usually Coke. Also, is there an order to read the Ryan Drake books? Start with Redemption, then Sacrifice, and then Betrayal, and then go on from there. So they're usually numbered anyway, so you can't go too far wrong. And lastly, any chance of the Drinker crashing the FNT Vegas meetup? Probably not this year, to be fair, because Vegas is so fucking far from where I am. Like, it is not easy to get there. So, yeah, I probably won't do that. But I think Gary's coming over to the UK later this summer, so we will probably have a meetup then. Jander says, "As a proud Scotsman and Welshman, are you allowed to participate in St. Paddy's Day, or is that sacrilege? Any chance of a surprise AwesomeCon visit?" So, yeah, I absolutely partake of St. Patrick's Day. I mean, it's any excuse to drink Guinness,
He partakes every day in St.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's my patron saint. AwesomeCon probably won't be at that, unfortunately. It's just scheduling for the most part. Canada Plus says, would you rather be able to summon a cheeseburger anytime or be able to talk to ghosts, but they constantly try to sell you things from the afterlife? Fuck, that's tricky,
Dude,
actually.
That's obvious. One of those sucks. One of those is good. Like, what?
I like cheeseburgers, but like the opportunity to talk to ghosts would be quite cool. Even if
They're
they're like
tell you
babbling
stuff. What's the point?
Well, you could probably turn the conversation to something more interesting. You just
Have
got
you
to like,
met-
string them along a little bit.
People who are desperate to sell you shit? Come on, drinker, it's over. They're not going to let you. The
I
only
mean,
interesting thing would be
it's-
like summon the ghosts of famous people and be like, so what would they sell me? Like, or what Churchill would try and sell me. Well, Hitler.
Yeah,
That'd be funny.
fucking Elvis. What are you going to sell me?
Elvis is
Cheeseburgers,
still
ironically. Yeah, of course he is. We all believe that. Flav, who's been a member for 18 months, says 1935, T.E. Lawrence died. The Nuremberg Laws, the films The 39 Steps, Les Miserables, Mutiny on the Bounty, and Bride of Frankenstein. Hail to the drinker and panel. Awesome. There you go. I didn't even have to do the research. Someone else did it for me. Mega Spidey Man says, to all, what are your favorite Palpatine moments and why? Do you think he had any redemptive qualities? I mean, he was very good at organizing things.
I mean, we all know he fucks, right? Apparently, because he has
Oh,
grandchildren.
yeah.
He's creamy sheep.
Creamy sheep, indeed.
I liked
so,
it when he somehow returned.
Yeah.
One of my favorite memories of seeing Revenge of the Sith in the cinema is when he went, no. And the whole audience were like,
Yeah.
what are you doing there, Ian?
Did you have any favorite moments from the OT for him?
Oh, well, I mean, in the OT, he was kind of awesome as a bad guy, you know? Like, in the prequels, he's funny. A lot of the scenes, he's funny. I wouldn't change a thing about him in the prequels. I think he's one of the best performances in the prequels, but feels very different in terms of the way that you enjoy your Palpatine in those two eras, you know?
How to enjoy your Palpatine. I genuinely, to this day, I'm impressed with the makeup effects that they did on him in the OT, right? Because,
Sure, yeah.
you know, he presumably was fairly young as an actor at the time. Like, because Ian McDermott is still alive now.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking like he must be in his 80s now.
Yeah, man,
so
I
back
thought
then...
he looked good in Rise of Skywalker. Pity about everything else.
Yeah. But back then they obviously had to make him look aged and like withered and stuff, but he wasn't like an old guy, but it looked so effective. I was like, oh shit, I actually thought he was an old man until I like obviously learned more about the actor. It's like that's pretty good going for back then. No CGI, nothing. Anyway, Doge says today is a historical day for Disney. Star Butterfly's 10-year reign as the worst ever Disney princess shall be usurped by Rachel Zegler's Snow White. That is a historic day, so well done, Rachel. Rimmed says, Feliz Jueves, M&D, now that I know that you haven't watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, I'm making an oath to convince you to watch it. See you next Thursday. Okay, has anyone watched it?
I know what it's about, but I haven't watched it.
Nope.
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
A long time ago.
It's a
You're
pretty
not gonna
wild
force
plot.
us to
Let's
watch
just leave
it.
at that.
Wait,
Okay.
is it anime?
Sounds
Yeah.
like it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not a big anime guy, but
What's the next one? Will Dreamer. Been savoring your Firefly videos, eagerly awaiting Serenity.
Girl waiting.
Is there any chance of seeing your initial reactions for that one? So I think what we'll do for that is we're probably going to live stream it rather than doing a recording, but we'll still do a watch through of it. So yeah, it probably works best, as MauLer was saying, you know, many times before, is that like if we watch it in advance so that we know what's coming, we've got certain things that we can discuss without having to try and absorb it all there, because what will happen is like we're all talking over it and you might miss important bits of dialogue and stuff. So
I'd say it's not a movie you want drinker like talking to everybody while it's playing. You're going to want him to absorb it, and then second time around you can talk about all of it.
But yeah, we're putting that together. It's probably going to have me, MauLer, and Gary and Az, because we're all big fans of it at this point. So that'll be a nice way of doing it and rounding out our coverage. MF Legend says, MauLer, following up from last week, why do you think Buffy season 2 is cringe? Spike is great, and the Angela stuff is epic. What season do you all think is the best / worst, and why?
Well, how much time do I have for this?
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah, make it quick because we got a
Make
lot of
it
super
quick.
chats.
So season 2 is filled with really bad episodes, like Some Assembly Required or Go Fish, like famously bad eggs. And then there's some that are like middling, like Ted, where I like the premise, but I think the execution's pretty shit. There's a couple of those. Reptile Boy, that was shit. But all the stuff to do with
Boy.
all the stuff to do with Angelus is top tier. Same with Spike, but they're not in the majority of that season. So a lot of it is crap as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of people don't remember those parts because the good parts are so good. What was the second question?
That's fair.
Was it the best season?
Yeah, what do you think is the best?
Season 6.
Why?
I think it's fucking amazing and extremely bold, and got it in a lot of trouble for tackling like suicides, thoughts, depression, grief, all these like crazy in-depth stuff for a show that was much more commonly warm, cuddly, and fuzzy and fun in a lot of ways. If you check out the discussions about it, it's the most controversial season. Some think it's the worst, and they're wrong and should be corrected in re-education camps. But yeah, hey, that's just one guy's opinion. The Angel, it's easy. Season 5, that's the fucking top tier.
Snacks says, I was moved to tears after seeing the evil queen kill Snow White's parents with her pet Dalmatians. 10 rotten apples out of 10. I want to see that movie. Yossarian says, Daredevil or She-Hulk remind me that Mitchell and Webb sketch of two writers who create a medical drama without getting bogged down with any of the research. For example, Doctor, get me the medicine in here right now. Sure, yeah. Scott Ski says, Mirror, mirror on the wall, which is the worst remake of them all? I think we know now. Master of Puppets. With how cinema is struggling to fill seats, why don't they re-release older films like Lord of the Rings or OG Star Wars? They do all the time. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That would get people in, especially if they reduce ticket prices with the older films. Yeah, I would.
They just don't advertise them very well.
Like,
no, they don't. You're right.
It's also generally local. So, for example, my local theater to me recently re-released Mulholland Drive after David Lynch died. And that one's done really well, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
I am.
Like a lot of the bookings are sold out. Although I live that's a very population dense area, and it's a very artsy fartsy theater. It's known for that. So
yeah. But MauLer, what were you going to say there?
I think that's super depressing that like the alternative to our inundated fucking parts 2, 3, 4 sequel films. It's like, well, at least we can watch films from 20 plus years ago. Like, in modern theaters, like, God, we can't even like advocate that. There's something that bothered me because family came to visit the other day, and we were just we're comparing box office, and I was looking at my birth year for box office successes, and it's like, do you notice anything from this list, right? So Jurassic Park, The Fugitive, The Firm, Sleepless in Seattle, Mrs. Doubtfire, Indecent Proposal, In the Line of Fire, Aladdin, Cliffhanger, A Few Good Men, Free Willy, Groundhog Day, Dave, Rising Sun, Scent of a Woman, Cool Runnings, The Crying Game, Demolition Man, Rookie of the Year, Dennis the Menace, The Pelican Brief, Summersby, Last Action Hero, Nightmare Before Christmas, Three Musketeers. Probably stop at 25, but notice anything at all?
Is that 1994?
93.
Oh, so close.
Yeah, they're all originals, obviously.
Yeah.
I was fucking floored because then it was like 2024 goes Inside Out 2, Deadpool 3, Moana 2, Despicable Me 4, Wicked, Mufasa being the prequel to Lion King, Dune 2, Kong and Godzilla fucking 5 or whatever the hell that is, Kung Fu Panda 4, Sonic 3, Venom 3, Gladiator 2, Beetlejuice
Jesus
2,
Christ.
Pegasus 2,
Stop!
Bad Boys 4, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, what was that, 5, Twisted 2, Alien fucking Romulus.
Bob Iger, like a lot of people try to say that he doesn't speak for all studios and like these studios are in competition with each other, but he really when he comes out and he says that we're looking to prequels and sequels of beloved IPs because we know that that's what people love. it's not just Disney that's pulling that data. The thing is, one of these choke points for these companies, they all get their data from the same like 4 or 5 like think tank companies, and that's it. That's part of, for people who want to shout about diversity, they certainly do not, go outside of the realm of their little think tanks at all.
As long as they check their boxes, that's all they care about. And they do have boxes they have to check.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My God,
Like
they
make no
do.
mistake. Like this isn't metaphorical. They have a checklist.
Yeah, I 100% believe that. I like how there's one here called Firefly question. Like there's an actual account called that. So in the message, Mal didn't tell Tracy about the plan to call Womack's bluff, even with Wash shot and Kaylee held hostage. Holdo was criticized for not telling Poe the plan. Same critique apply. So I don't know if, like, did he just not get a chance to tell him? Because it was really fucking coupled together quickly.
He does it really fast. They've obviously constructed the plan. He comes in. He asked him to leave the room as well. This isn't because, like, it's not like a Poe Holdo situation where she's taking away from. Isn't Poe at that point like the captain? He's like a super high rank. This is the actual guy who's. I mean, I don't know how much I should say here, but he's like the passenger. He's like a captive that they're trying to keep secret and everything. So all they want him to do is fucking hide while they deal with the situation. And the fact that he pulls a gun on them so quickly, I think convinces Mal and Zoe that it's like, you made a huge fucking mistake by doing this. Like, because it's not like he said, whoa, guys, can you go over the plan with me in detail to make sure that I understand what's happening here? He instead, like, remember, and he starts spouting off all this shit about how he tricked them, how, like, they're pathetic, and how he's going to get what he wants.
Yeah.
You know, he does eventually feel bad for all that shit. But I think the point the episode was trying to make is that it was like just unfortunate enough, but his true character sort of came out when he didn't have to do that in terms of taking advantage of people. Which, part of it is the point, right? He never knew how to reintegrate into real life after the war.
Yeah, no, that's made clear like several times, I guess, throughout the episode. So no, I think that makes sense. Robot Dews says, if they changed who was fairest to be the most just, all right, yeah, I remember reading that one out. That's okay, we've done that one. Deus Vault says, for selfish reasons, I want MauLer to watch Gladiator 2 so that we can get his autistic breakdown of how bad it is.
Oh, come on. Out of all the people here, there must be at least a few autistic breakdowns already.
Despot's already done it.
Yeah.
I mean, his one's really good. And did yours get taken down for a while, Despot, and then it came back?
Which one?
Your Gladiator 2 review.
No, my Gladiator 2 review was part of my 12 worst movies of 2024 video. So I had that at number 12. No, it didn't get taken down. It's still there.
What was number one?
Number one, what was
Borderlands?
it? It was no, Borderlands was number 2. Number 1 was Joker 2.
Ah, fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Does anyone disagree with that? I mean,
no,
I don't think so. No, because even Madam Web, it was just like, well, that was a shit movie. Anyone but we could have fun with that.
Anyone who says Madam Web's worst movie of the year is fucking lying.
Yeah. Oh man, the Razzies has gotten so bad that they actually gave Dakota Johnson worst actress, which I thought was bullshit.
Yeah, I think Borderlands was the first movie to piss me off in a really long time. Because usually I'll see a bad movie and I'm like, it was a bad movie. Borderlands, I was just pissed. I was like, why am I watching?
I refused to watch it. I read the plot synopsis for that, and like, they made Lilith into an Iridian? And I was just like, okay, I'm already out.
And she's also like 55 years old now instead of 25, which she's meant to be. So,
but she's still playing a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
She's 55 playing a 25-year-old.
That is one of the worst.
They turned Tiny Tina into didn't they turn Tiny Tina into basically like somewhat like Handsome Jack's daughter Angel? But like not really, but kind of.
Something.
I don't know. That's what I read for. I was like, this is just nonsense. Yeah, no. Thanks.
The production history on that movie is nuts. Like they were trying to get that piece of shit made for a decade.
Like, why bother?
Yeah, by the time they made it, it was too late. It was way past its sell-by date.
Even the new game doesn't look that good either. Borderlands 4.
Nothing had a sell-by date.
Yeah, but like if you don't get the movie out by this date, there's really no point because the buzz has died off. It's no longer culturally relevant. Same thing that happened with the Overwatch clone, fucking Concord. I mean, it never would have had a chance, but the fact that it came out at least 5 or 6 years too late because for that market.
And now a
Yeah.
bunch of the devs that worked on Concord, they're working on Halo. So there you
Yay.
Ugh.
Please look forward to it.
Luis Palau says, Despot, I'm so glad that your Napoleon review is back.
Oh yeah, I also did an extra cut for the directors. I added about 20 minutes examining the director's cut of that movie, and the director's cut, it's actually just kind of sad at this point. When you watch the director's cut, you realize how completely inept Ridley Scott has become. He really just can't do this anymore. He
The
doesn't
man
know
doesn't
what
give
a
a
good
fuck
movie
anymore.
is.
That's the
And
problem.
Dude,
it's like,
I've been singing that
Here-
song for so long now, man.
Here's-
Ridley Scott has not been that man in a long time.
let me
Yeah.
just give you this statistic, and I'll leave it at that. The director's cut adds 48 minutes. 27 seconds of that is action.
Jesus Christ. Wow.
No,
It's-
thanks.
And
it's
you're
sad
talking
to
about
watch,
some of the
man.
biggest battles in warfare.
He
right?
needs
And
to,
it's like-
it's just elder abuse at this stage. Somebody needs to stop him from doing this.
But the thing is,
Yeah, I mean-
he's abusing himself. Like, nobody's forcing him to make
Yeah,
these
no one's
movies.
forcing him to do. He wants to do this, man. You know what? He wants to go out on top. The problem is he can't do it. Look, I've gotten so much shit for saying that. Honestly, for my money, I think Tony Scott was the better director. I'm sorry, I just do. Like, and I get a lot of shit for saying that, but I think movie for movie, pound for pound, that Tony Scott was the better director. But you know, I know Ridley made the greats, right? Blade Runner and all these other great films, and I understand Alien, but he hasn't been that guy since that time.
The thing is, he's done so many. His average is fucking collapsing like gradually. So maybe that's unfixed. Tony Scott, he's got so many good. Well, that'll be an interesting like little tournament drinker to have like all directors and decide who
Yeah.
wins like ultimately.
Yeah, because
Who
like,
is the
some of them
greatest
will have-
director of all time? Is it Kubrick? Is that what everyone's gonna pick?
I mean, I put Kubrick up there for sure, along with Carpenter.
Yeah, but then it's like you're going like, what metric are you judging it by? Like, is it
All of
consistency?
them.
Is it, or is it like artistic merit? Is the intent behind it? Is just sheer fucking tortuous production timescales?
Well, cultural
like, you know.
impact. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I
factors.
mean,
put into that.
Bruckheimer has definitely done some stuff as well, though. Like, obviously more TV wise, but every time he dips his toe into cinema, he does okay. Like, he hasn't had.
I think
Real
honestly, I
horrible
think you would have to put them into leagues. So like you can, you
Yeah,
probably
probably.
couldn't compare Bruckheimer to like Kubrick or something. But like
Probably
if you can
not.
get like if you get the commercial directors into one league and then like the artistic
Oh,
directors
dude.
into another, then you could have a lot
Michael
of fun with
Bay.
that.
Michael Bay versus
Yeah.
Zack Snyder. Who wins?
Michael
Yeah.
Bay.
Oh,
Michael Bay
Michael
all
Bay
the way.
wins.
Michael
man.
Bay probably
Michael
wins. Yeah.
Bay.
No,
yeah,
man.
that's true.
Roland
I kind of feel like
for
that
that
doesn't matter
category.
what metric you use. Fucking Zack Snyder's probably going to be bottom of the pile these days.
Yeah.
Drink
Rebel
up.
Moon was so bad, dude. I
Yeah,
couldn't even
Rebel
watch the
Moon
second
1,
part.
Rebel Moon 2, and Army of the Dead. 3 of his latest fully controlled
Snyder-
high-budget stories.
Dude,
All
Zack
awful.
Snyder made a movie where 4 hot chicks were fighting mecha samurai, dragons, zombie Nazis, and it still failed.
Yeah.
How do you
His
fail
best movie
with
was
a
300.
premise like that?
It was the shitty like story that was wrapped around it though, like in
Yeah.
the mental hospital and stuff. Like,
Exactly.
You know, the part that bothers me, a lot of people have spent the years stripping George Lucas of his achievements, like saying he's not responsible for why the OT is so good and the prequels are evidence of that. Where's that fucking logic for Zack Snyder?
oh,
Like,
just, yeah.
all of the best shit from his best years, do we know that was him as opposed to the team that he was with, considering he's had full control over his latest 3 disasters? Like,
One thing
you
I
know
will
why?
say about
That's fair.
everyone saw the prequels. Nobody saw fucking Rebel Moon 1, 2, and Army of the Dead, so no one talks about them.
Well, remember when I was talking to you about like the very first time that I saw Rebel Moon? I was like, "Why is everything so out of focus? Why is the cinematography
God,
so
dude.
shit?" And then
His-
you just said, "Go on Google right now and look up cinematographer for that movie," and it was
Yep.
fucking Zack Snyder. It's like, well, okay, there you go.
Yeah, and then look at the cinematographer for Batman versus Superman, for Man of Steel, for Watchmen. It ain't Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
Oh.
but like Richard Donner, what he was able to do with far less technology, you'd think that Snyder would be able to, you know, absolutely outperform Donner's legacy to some degree, and he just couldn't. And I wonder if Gunn is, because ultimately, like, I know the Snyder fans are gonna, you know, compare Gunn's Superman to Snyder's Superman, but like when you compare them against Donner's Superman, I don't know that they'll be able to have that same optimism, that theme that was through the whole film.
Wait, are we
Ever-
talking about Donner Superman 1 and 2, or are we talking about Donner Superman 3 and 4? Because
1 and
there's
2. What are you
there's a
talking?
big difference between those 4 movies.
I'm talking
Yeah.
1 and 2. I don't know what you're talking about 3 and 4. I've never heard of Superman 3 and 4. They don't exist.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, because yeah.
I mean, if
I
I
have
had
a
to
good,
pick, like, I would much rather obviously pick, you know, James Gunn over Zack Snyder to direct a Superman movie.
Ouch.
I have a good question for the the director question, because you think, well, how do you frame the question? So if you frame it like this, which director had the highest average? Who would you choose?
Ooh.
So for me, I would say it has to be Stanley Kubrick, because he
I was going to
he
say
pretty
Kubrick's
much
going to win that.
I mean,
always made brilliant movies. Because my favorite
Yeah.
director is Spielberg, but Spielberg's done some shit, but he's done so many iconic, great movies that he takes it for me. But his average, it goes up and down. He's done some shite like Saving Private Ryan and some other bad movies.
I mean,
but he's
Eyes
done some
Wide
amazing
Shut was
stuff
pretty
too.
crap as well, to be honest with you. But
It
Yeah, but
is.
that-
I've
that
never
was
quite got that, but
completely
that's
Kubrick,
the
though, right?
one that doesn't work, and the rest are just amazing.
But that's also the one he didn't finish, right?
no, he did
finished it.
finish it. Yeah,
But
well,
I thought
well,
he died
There's,
to someone
there's
else.
theories
yeah.
about
So he'd done a
whether or not
rough
it was his
he'd done a rough cut screening, and he was pretty happy with that. But obviously, like, there was still post production still to be
Oh,
done,
okay,
some
okay, got it,
editing and
got it.
stuff. But like, it was mostly done. So they'd finished principal photography with it. It was like some weird novella that he'd been trying to adapt for like 30 years. Like, most of his career had been like coming backwards and forwards to this thing, and you can never find a way to make it work until right at the end.
By the way, that movie was the most awkward movie experience I've ever had in my life, man. Like, it's still like to this day number one, and I'll tell you why. Because I go to watch it on my day off. It's like, I don't know, like 1 PM. I'm like, I'll go catch a matinee back when matinees were only like $5. So I go see this movie. I pay my ticket. I sit in my seat. This fucking family of 5 comes and sits right in front of me, and I'm talking little kids, dude, to eyes wide shut. I'm like, what?
What did they think they were going to see?
And they stayed the whole time. I'm just like, this is so awkward, man.
Those kids must have grown up quickly after watching that one.
I'm like, what kind of parents does some shit like this?
Yeah, I like this as well. Borderlands gave me flashback to the Yui Ball era of video game movies.
Ooh,
it was almost that bad. Like,
that's
it really
deep
was.
pull, man.
Yeah. Kevin O'Neill says, "Drinker, do yourself a favor and look up Lana Parrilla as the evil queen." Okay, I'll take that under advisement. Jordan Pendragon says, "Even though you're always saying it's terrible, it'll make money. People don't like what's good; they like what they know." We're talking about Snow White here. I mean, if the opening projections are anything to go by, I don't think it is going to make money.
Also,
yeah,
I mean,
I don't see it, and I think once those reviews drop, and they're already bad, but it's going to get really bad when all the reviews come in. It's just not. I cannot see any way this thing makes money.
Well, and let's be honest, to an extent, that's true, what was said there about people like what they know and everything. But we used to live in a time where people would make things and we didn't notice what we liked. We watched it and go, holy shit, this thing's amazing, whatever this is. I like this. Like trendsetters. But we feel like we're in the complete opposite of that era that's possible now. It's only trends. If anything else happens, fucking kill it, basically.
Can I say as well?
Well, I don't go to the movies much anymore, man.
When we're talking about the bulk of reviews coming in for Snow White, it's now sitting at 140 professional reviews, and it's 46%. So, and as those numbers build up, like, it's going to be harder and harder to shift that percentage one way or another anyway. So it's unlikely to get above 50. It might drop below 40 potentially. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good thing Rachel Zegler booked that Evita gig, because she's not going to be working for a while.
Ducky says, off topic, have you all seen the latest Kerry Washington girl boss movie trailer, Shadow Force, with the fat spy friend? What the hell is that?
No.
I don't really want to, no. The last thing I saw, she did that World War II thing where it's like the girls working in the mail office.
Oh, that one, yeah.
The devastating thing about that is that is actually based on a true story, but because they had to shove their messaging into it, what those women actually did got completely lost and just horribly misconstrued because they were able to figure out a way to smuggle mail in and help get messages sent like that had very sensitive information that ultimately helped with certain parts of the war, like the Allies getting certain ground and avoiding certain traps. And so, but that all got lost because we had to girl boss the movie.
Yeah, as always. Yeah, that one guy says cast directors, check the boxes. Yeah, as I think Gary described it as that, like they don't hire directors anymore; they cast them, and it seems pretty appropriate.
The last director that they hired, a real director they hired, was Sam Raimi, and they screwed him over big. So they'll probably never get another director again.
That's still an example of them casting a director. Like they did not get him because they wanted his artistic prowess; they wanted him for his name.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
I don't know how you hire a guy like Sam Raimi on a Doctor Strange movie and not let him go full Raimi, man. Like Doctor Strange 2 should have been the weirdest shit that we've ever seen, in the best way possible.
Dude, I think that was the saddest part. Is I saw some reviews saying like this is a Raimi film through and through, and it's like that's not a fucking Raimi movie. Especially when, like, no offense, no shade to anybody who may feel I'm targeting you here, but it drives me nuts when people are like, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man, that's what he does. It's like, bro, you're not even going to reference Evil Dead.
Right, exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll do one more here just to finish up. Andrew Lee asking the big questions. Since Snow White is named after her skin color, would an Asian Snow White be called Yellow Snow? Well, I don't know. Yeah, we'll never find out.
In the movie, it's not because of her skin color. It's because she was born in a snowstorm.
That's right.
Yes.
So,
that's how they do it.
That is so dumb, dude.
That explains her olive skin.
Yeah. So there are articles out there. One of them says that I think it's Vulture. It's actually like a fashion magazine, but they're talking about it and they're like, most likely the reference to her skin being white as snow had to do with nobility less than race because nobles weren't out in the sun as much.
Guys, I gotta go. Okay, it's been great streaming with you. All right.
Alrighty.
No worries, man.
All right, take it easy. Thank you. Bye bye.
See you, mate.
Cheers, buddy.
But yeah, they're desperately running cover. And like another one, I think it was Deadline or Variety said that the war in Gaza may prevent turnout for this film.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah, so now they're blaming the war in Gaza. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm probably going to finish up there for tonight. We've been streaming for about 3 hours.
That's probably
What's that?
Nothing. Keep going.
Yeah. But I want to say thank you to my lovely panel for being on tonight. It's been awesome having you on. Appreciate you guys. We've gotten through the nightmare that is Snow White, so that's been nice. We made it. And thank you everyone that's joined us for this, and for all your generous super chats. As always, we'll catch up on them on over the weekend, so we won't miss any. But I will say, for now, that's all we got for today. So go away now.
Bye.
See you guys.